Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to 4Player Podcast. This is episode 731. It is September 15th, 2022. I'm your host, Nick Henderson, and I am joined this evening by Nolan Hedstrom.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Christopher Guthridge.
Hello.
And Christopher Davis.
Good evening.
And we have so much stuff to talk about tonight. So much news, so much impressions. We got some spice. How did you put it, Crispy? We got some spicy.
Some juice. We got some juice.
Some controversy. I'm not sure how much there's some excitement, and then there's a little bit of like, what the fuck, mixed in there with the news. So
Sure.
That's going to be exciting. We'll talk about news in the second segment. But I want a little bit of housekeeping. I want to get through here real quick. First of all, if you missed it, we pushed a major revision to our website at 4playernetwork.com, and I would appreciate it if everybody checked it out, maybe bookmarked our site. I streamlined it a lot, removed a lot of content, updated a lot of stuff in there that hasn't been updated in probably 8 years, removed a lot of stuff that was no longer applicable. So it is a slick, focused website now. Check it out. Of course, that's 4playernetwork.com. And of course, I always encourage you guys, if you listen to our show and you have things that you want to chime in on, if you have any comments, questions about conversations we have on this show, go to 4playernetwork.com and find the post for this episode and leave us a comment, and we'll address it on the next episode. But yeah, anyways, check that out. Worked very hard on it. I'm very pleased with it. I hope you like it. Second of all, and this is kind of loosely related to something we're going to be doing, not loosely, it is directly related to something we're about to do tonight. We were gifted 3 Switch codes for Anno Mutationum. I don't know if you remember that game. I talked about it a few months ago on the podcast. Anno Mutationum was just released on Switch, and the developer was so kind. He sent us 3 codes. I've given away 2 of them to people who left comments on our podcast and on YouTube. So I want to give a shout out to Casano and Herbert, who both took home a code. And I have 1 more to give away. And we're going to do that live on the podcast tonight. So Nolan, if I understand this correctly, how does this work? Has it technically already started?
It's done.
Okay, it's done. So if you are interested in potentially winning a copy of Anno Mutationum for the Switch, all you have to do is type in !raffle into the chat, and that'll enter you in the drawing, and we will pick a winner during our break between the first and second segment. So anybody who comes into chat can enter, and we'll pick a winner, and good luck to everybody. And also big shout out to the developer for sending us those codes. It was very kind of him. I did really enjoy my time with that game, and I hope more people play it. But yeah, like I said, we got so much to talk about tonight. We got impressions, we got news, but we got to start with impressions. And it's been 2 weeks since our last show. Is anybody ready to hear about the remake of The Last of Us Part 1?
Whoa! This is going to take a while.
I know, there is so much to dig into here. I played...
excited.
Slightly prettier version of The Last of Us 1. Okay.
That is okay. So
Slightly is an understatement.
I am talking about this game tonight. I know it comes a certain amount of baggage. Obviously, there's a lot of controversy surrounding this game just because of, it doesn't need to exist, all that good stuff. And I think when we heard rumors about a remake of The Last of Us, I wasn't really sure what I was expecting, especially when you think about like remakes of games like Demon's Souls. Chris Davis knows about Demon's Souls. Like the remake of that.
I'd like to know more about Demon's Souls remake. Maybe refresh my memory. If only somebody who has my copy
Will-
would be kind enough to return it.
Who will remain nameless. That person is not here tonight, but hopefully he's listening.
Oh, that person's
and
name
he'll-
is Brad Simons.
Okay, well, there we go. But yeah, so that was a pretty substantial remake, and I'm thinking of stuff like Shadow of the Colossus, which was another 1-to-1 remake. Remake, it's just so weird. I wasn't sure what to expect when we found out that when the rumors started circulating they were going to do a remake of The Last of Us. But part of me was like, it couldn't just be a 1-to-1 remake, could it? And then, of course, we found out it is. So here we are. I played all the way through The Last of Us again. The Last of Us, it's one of my favorite games of all time. It's in my top 3. I adored this game. I adored The Last of Us Part 2. And really, the weird thing about this particular game is that really all it succeeds at doing, I think, is elevating that first game so that these two games become like a seamless experience from start to finish.
Sure.
Which is cool in and of itself. But $70, man.
So to be clear for everyone, this does not have any new content whatsoever, right?
All the characters are new models. Are they? I mean, if you're
there's-
talking about story and gameplay, then no.
Okay,
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah, so there is no additional content that wasn't in the first game. There might be little things here and there that were tweaked that you made that are maybe not particularly noticeable that would technically count as new content, but nothing you're gonna write home about. You know what I mean? Nothing you're gonna be like, oh my god, it's got this, and that makes this the definitive version. I do think this is the definitive version of this game. It's an incredibly seamless, smooth experience, and it's weird because we got The Last of Us 2 not too long ago, so this really just feels like playing an extension of The Last of Us 2. So on one hand, you have the aspect of it, which is okay, The Last of Us is barely, what was that, 2013? It's not even 10 years old yet, and we have a remake of it. So it already feels too soon in that regard. But really, we got The Last of Us 2 2 years ago, and this feels like more of that. So it kind of doubles down on it, and now it just feels like, okay, this feels definitely... I feel like if The Last of Us 2 hadn't come out in the last 10 years, this would feel like a much more substantial upgrade. So it's just a weird thing to exist.
Here's my 2 cents.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I have a lot of them. First off, to everyone who's complaining that it's $70, I really need to know who's holding a gun to your head and making you buy this. I'm just very confused. I don't understand who's making you buy this. It's very confusing.
I think it's more of just
Secondly, hold on. It's a video game. It would really suck if I spent 2,000 hours working on something, and then someone was like, "Here's your $10 because we're going to sell it for 2 cents." And I'd be like, "What the fuck? Where'd all my time go?" So don't get me wrong.
Definitely a lot of work that went into this.
Thirdly, everything we know about this was a new team who was not familiar with PS5 development, and they were given a task to say, "Hey, teach yourself how to develop on the PS5 by remaking this game." Right?
Yeah, I mean that's what I've heard. I don't know how accurate that actually is, but that's what I've heard. Yes.
Sure. So that's what we've heard. All of that being said, I have played through The Last of Us at least 3 times on the PS3, and probably 2 to 3 times on the PS4. And guess what? I didn't fucking buy this. It's one of my favorite games of all time. And you know what? I'm just not going to buy it until it's cheaper, and I'm going to live a happy fucking life. I don't understand why people are so upset that they want to sell a product for the value. I get it. I understand that they, in theory, could have sold it for... I know that when Shadow of the Colossus remake came out, I don't think it was full price. I do think it was...
No, it's 40.
It was a smaller subset. So I could understand that there'd probably be a little less outrage if they sold it for a slight discount. But what I will say is there is no The Last of Us on the PS5 that you can buy right now. This is the first kind of version of it. And all PS5 games, besides a few indies, cost $70. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying that's what it is. I guarantee you, come this holiday season, it's going to be less than 70.
Yeah.
So if you want to wait a few months, you can probably buy it at a discount.
Absolutely. And I do... There's a couple caveats, too, worth mentioning. Since The Last of Us 2 came out, I don't agree with most of this, but The Last of Us as a brand is just now completely overwhelmed with controversy. Like, you can't talk about The Last of Us without stirring up some kind of shitstorm.
For sure.
Which sucks because, whatever. I adore The Last of Us. Like, for me, I had no problem dropping $70 to play this game, to buy this game, but that's just me, and I totally get why some people would be hesitant too. And I would even say if you're not really in the mood to play The Last of Us 1 right now, easily wait on this until you get that urge again, and then see what it costs when the time rolls around. But I do want to point out too that The Last of Us 1, I think, has aged more than people give it credit for in their head. Because,
For sure.
because
If you go and look at what this 2013 game looks like on the PS3,
it's
this
kinda shocking.
version
Well,
looks a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to like. Look, I
Stir
don't
the
have
pot,
any.
Crispy.
I
Stir the
don't.
pot.
I don't have any stake in this argument. Like, I just honestly don't care. Like, I love Last of Us, but I don't care. Right?
Fine.
But I do think, excuse me.
Bless
Sorry.
you.
I do think that some people who've taken umbrage with this do have. I mean, like, I think some of that is based in a kind of like wider, more philosophical take on the industry and on popular media in general. This idea of like, okay, well, now that they've done this remake, they've already said like, this is it. This is the definitive version. Like, this is the only version of The Last of Us Part 1 you're ever going to see from us again. This is the official, like, this is the new masters, basically. Right?
Sure.
And that's weird, but that's a discussion we've had about all sorts of media for years and years now. You know, movies,
Yeah, for sure.
music. Like, it is kind of worrying to some people, especially people who are like really into the game and also really into like the idea of like conserving media in an increasingly digital landscape, right?
Right.
Sounds like I'm giving a TED talk, but
A
there
crispy talk.
there is a reason to kind of be like a little weirded out by this, right? Especially since, and again, it is coming pretty soon. Like, it's
I
kind
mean,
of
I am also kind of weird about it. Even as someone who
it,
loved it and spent $70 and played it again,
right.
like, it's still a little weird.
To be less than 10 years into the game's life and already have like 2 complete overhauls of it, you know?
Yeah.
But I get it from Sony's point of view. It is like their biggest like flagship title nowadays. It's nice to have it as something you can package with the console you're selling. Like, hey, this is the machine that plays Last of Us, right? And I do think a lot of outrage directed at this game is kind of just culture war stuff now. It's like really weird.
For sure.
But
That's kind of the weird shit I was talking about. But
I
also,
don't
like, I think
understand,
there
but-
is the PC kind of comes into this too, because I feel like at some point they were
Yeah.
like, well, we can put The Last of Us on PC, and
The
like it
other-
wouldn't
yeah.
make sense to like release it on PC and not put it on PS5. But then you always just kind of end up circling back around to the $70 price point. But like,
I mean,
that
there is a
$70
point.
thing is so temporary.
There is a point too where it's like, what's good for the consumer, what's good for the market, like for the people who
Right.
buy these games, isn't necessarily what's good for the company, and vice versa. And another argument, I might have missed if you brought this up, but another argument I've heard is that this is like taking resources away from something else we could have had, like essentially because Sony is assigning people and assigning money and assigning time to remaking The Last of Us again. That's like another game we're not gonna get. That's like another game we're never gonna see.
Well, we do know they're
Right.
working on that large like multiplayer Last of Us game,
Right.
which we don't know. We know very little about at this point.
Which hopefully is still a thing. Like,
Oh,
it's still
I mean, I'm
But,
sure
like-
it is, especially since Last of Us
Well,
2
I know,
didn't
I
have
know.
factions.
But we
in it. Like,
haven't heard anything since what was like E3, or was it the last
it
of
was
Us?
actually, yeah, that was actually E3 this year, so it had.
Yeah,
I
when you
think was it
talked
this
about
year?
it.
It hasn't
Yeah, I
been
don't
very
know.
long. It feels like it's
It's
been
like
forever,
forever.
but it hasn't been.
Right. Which
Counter
I
argument
mean,
to
I was
that-
gonna say I don't know that I agree with that argument. Like, I don't
So,
know that it is just like a bucket of water that you're like taking some out and oh well, now there's not as much.
Yes and no. But the thing is, okay, think about it this way. Once again, this team is new. So if
Right.
they had given them a new product to start from the ground up, what if they had fucked it and it turned into a horrible disaster and it came out and everyone hates that game, versus this is like, hey, here's your baseline. The game's already set. You don't need to do anything special besides make it look better, add the new assets, use the new models, like get more familiar with it. They already knew where their baseline was, versus something they're making potentially from scratch, where A,
Right.
it would take longer, and then B, like I said, there's more potential that it comes out worse.
Right.
Like
And
Order 66, Order
But
1880.
but again, that
are good
is a completely like company side view, right?
Yeah.
Like
For
we
sure.
don't like, that doesn't mean anything to us. Like, and I don't know that it necessarily should, but it does help explain why, if you really wanted to know why, like this thing is a thing.
Yeah. And this is also a weird place to come from as a fan of The Last of Us, who, this series means a lot to me. Like, it means a lot to a lot of people, especially after kind of the blowback from certain people about The Last of Us Part 2 and whatnot. A part of me was like, of course I have no problem paying $70 for this product, because I want to show Sony that that I still care about this series. Like, I'm not. I know that's a weird way to show it. And,
I want to vote with my dollar.
I mean, yeah. I mean, people talk about voting with your dollars, but usually it's like in the opposite direction, right? It's saying don't throw your money at something, but it's like when you do care about something, I mean, and also this is like one of those things where it's like, $70 means different things to different people, and it's like if
And
you
to
like The
Nick,
Last of
it
Us,
means nothing.
I did not say that. This is where it gets tricky
rich
talking about
I'm
money.
joking.
This is where it gets tricky. But
I'm
like,
joking.
it could be, from one week to the next, like $70 might mean one thing versus another. But it's just,
You want to talk
I'm
about
sitting
$70? We'll talk about $70 in the 4-player minute, okay?
okay, let's do it.
You want to talk about $70?
All I want to say about this is because, I think we've talked a lot about this at this point, maybe more than we should. The Last of Us 1, regardless of how you feel about 2, is still a fantastic experience. And this seeing it upscaled like this, it's so weird because like I didn't realize how much The Last of Us Part 1 had aged until I started looking at things kind of side by side and going to YouTube videos and like watching scenes and then like going over and looking at this and I'm like, oh my god, this is actually a dramatic improvement and the game looks better than ever. I fucking love it. But
another small thing that I'm sure probably a lot of people don't notice is the fact that the OG game had pre-rendered cutscenes.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those very noticeable things, and especially when you're going from like the PS3 to the PS4 to the PS5, those things don't often scale very well.
Does this have pre-rendered cutscenes?
No, they're all in engine now.
Oh, it's done. It's redone,
which means it's a live transition. They used to open a door and then go to a cutscene.
Right.
Like they would fade to black, go to a cutscene. This is just you open the door and it's just happening.
And camera swings through. Yeah.
So it feels very, very, very similar to The Last of Us Part 2. That's how they did it in Part 2. And they reuse as many assets as they could from the original games. Like all the voice acting is the exact same tracks. They obviously didn't re-record anything. There are certain things that I'm pretty sure they tweaked. Like everyone has asked the question about the doctor at the end. Right? Yeah. Did they change the voice?
Apparently,
they should make him look like Abby's dad from Part 2.
Yeah, but the doctor's in the original too. The doctor is wearing like a surgical mask, so you can't really tell. But like, I went back and kind of looked at the YouTube video from like the original thing and looked at what was going on here, and I was like, I think they updated it. I think they did, but you can't really tell. So they took advantage of this opportunity to kind of like make the whole thing a little bit more cohesive, which is I appreciate.
Yeah, they also updated, I think they said they updated Joel's model to where he looks a little bit older, to be more reflective of what he looked like in 2.
And yeah, he definitely looks more in line with what he does in 2. And well, they didn't give you all the same like mobility, like movement abilities that you had in Part 2. Like there are definitely improvements to Ellie's or Joel and Ellie's like mobility and kind of like the aiming mechanics and whatnot from Part 2 have kind of carried over a little bit.
I think
you know what they should have done?
Mm-hmm.
What's up?
You know what they should have done? They should have gone back to the final scene in the operating room and edited in guns into all the doctor's hands.
Replaced all their scalpels with guns.
Like,
Scalpel, he has a machete.
Oh my god, that's
So
fucking
there's
funny.
some questions in chat, and I think I know the answer. I do think they're making use of the not dual shock. What is it called? The
The
pros.
adaptive triggers,
Yeah, the adaptive triggers on. What is this new controller called?
the dual
The
sense.
dual sense. Thank you. And then I also heard, I think that they updated the bow mechanics because OG one had some
Mhm.
kind of weird bow mechanics, and they made it more similar to 2, which was better.
Yeah.
But once again,
Like,
they
it's
did
like-
update some stuff. I would say like adding the Last of Us 2 style combat would be a huge difference. So I
Yeah.
understand why they didn't do that. But yeah. But yes, I
But,
agree with your statement from 5 minutes ago that I think we've been going too long on this.
Sorry. All right. Then with that in mind, let's move on. The Last of Us Part 1, it's pretty cool. Let's just leave it at that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
All
pretty
right.
alright.
Wait for PlayStation Plus.
All right, real quick. Let's where are we going? Okay, real quick. A reminder to anyone who's watching live. I'm gonna kind of say this. We're doing a raffle. If you want to enter the raffle, because we're gonna draw a winner during the break. If you're just joining us, you get to win a copy of Anno Mutationum on Switch. All you got to do is !raffle if you're interested in entering the drawing. Anyways, Chris Davis, I'm gonna send it over to you because you have a game called The Ascent.
The Ascent. Yes.
What is this game?
The Ascent. Well, mechanically speaking, is a isometric third-person twin-stick shooter.
That sounds like a Chris Davis game.
I mean, yeah, but there's a lot more to it than that. But at the same time, it's not as much as you think. So, all right, this game
This is chaos.
is chaos, but it's pretty cool chaos. This was that game that we saw a couple years ago in trailers that looked just fucking amazing. But we didn't understand what we were looking at because it wasn't until after we saw that trailer, like months after, that we realized, oh yeah, this is an isometric game.
Oh, it's kind of like that new Aliens game where they're like, "Oh, this new Alien game looks really cool," and then like,
which
for
is
like a 5
actually
minutes,
called
cinematic,
Aliens,
it's like,
the Descent.
yeah.
So
oh, well, that's
there is no connection actually. That's just kind of a thing that happened.
It's just a strange coincidence.
Coincidence, yes.
Okay.
This game was pretty fucking cool. So it is a cyberpunk dystopian game set on a planet far in the future. It's a corporate dystopia to where corporations own everything and everyone. Everyone in your arcology that you live in is a indentured servant, an indent of the Ascent Group Corporation. And
Just be smiling and it's making me nervous.
yeah, you start the game and it has this little scrolling monologue talking about how everyone is scammed into becoming an indentured servitude in this world, and you are more likely to die than actually earn your freedom. So yeah,
Wonderful.
very yeah.
Yeah.
So you are a nameless just cog in the machine, an indent that is serving the Ascent Group at the beginning of the game. You are literally in the worst position possible because you are working in waste management.
It's like Oddworld with guns.
But you start the
he has a
game
pretty
and
shitty job.
you literally wade through shit in this game. You start the game and you're in waste management, and something happens. Something happens to the corporation, and you don't learn until hours later exactly what happened. The entire goal of the game is to learn what happened to the Ascent Group. But the board just disappears, and the AI that was managing the corporation just shut itself off. And so it's just chaos throughout the entire arcology. But people are still trying to live their lives and move on and do stuff like that. So you come out of the woodwork and you get hired on to do some mercenary stuff, and you kind of do what you're told throughout the rest of the game to discover what happened to the Ascent Group. And I will say that I don't like the fact that this game does not give you player agency. You are just told to go do things, and you do it, and you have no voice in the matter.
Well, isn't that kind of thematically
thematically appropriate? Yes, but kind of player enjoyment, I think, kind of no. That's a whole other thing.
They played to the themes of the game at the detriment of maybe the player who's actually controlling the character.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's just basically you're going out, you're given tasks and side quests and missions to go on throughout this very large arcology. of which you
You
explore
keep saying
for
arcology, and I keep thinking you're like trying to say another word and fucking it, but like,
arcology.
what is arcology?
An
Is that just
arcology is a
word?
concept for a building that contains a city in its most basic sense.
This is okay, but just so we're clear, this is like a fictional word made up for this game, or is this a word that I'm not familiar with?
This is a word that you're not familiar with.
Oh my god!
Well,
I'm
it
so
is like
embarrassed.
a sci-fi concept.
It is a very
It's
sci-fi
still-
concept.
it's still
But
a
yeah.
concept. Can you get on Google Maps right now, Chris Davis? Show me an arcology.
Destiny has an arcology.
There's actually
Don't fall
one
for
in
it.
Alaska. I think there is actually.
I mean, it's like
I'll have to look
saying
it up.
it's like saying warp drive, right? It's not a real thing, but it's a thing.
Apparently, Alaska has one, Crispy. A
Oh,
warp
the
drive.
future is what? A warp drive.
There are some places around the world that actually has some like test kind of arcologies that are just large buildings
Okay,
to where
here we go.
you're supposed to live in them entirely.
Right. Here we go. Arcology is the fusion of architecture with ecology, a comprehensive urban perspective. In nature, as organisms evolve, they increase in complexity and become a more compact system. A city should similarly evolve, functioning as a living system. That's an arcology. I learned something.
A portmanteau of architecture and ecology.
It doesn't.
Duh.
Anyway, sorry. You pick up a shooty bang bang and start
This is the
killing
shooty
things.
bang bang game where you run around and you go do tasks. And I gotta say, this is a pretty fun game. I really enjoyed my time with it. I think I spent like 20, 25 hours in it, really playing through it.
You
doing
blew
all the
through
side
this
quests and everything.
and you blew through this and Alpha Protocol at the same time.
I blew through Alpha Protocol in a weekend, man. That's a short game.
Damn,
Yeah, that's not nearly as long as you think it is.
making me look like a chump. By the way, the
You
revival
kinda
clips
are,
bang
but-
Alpha Protocol.
But yeah,
Anyways.
this game is really cool. The two things it really has going for it, it's its visual and audio design. Visually, it is fucking gorgeous. There's just the level, the amount of work they have put into the world. There is some repeated stuff, but it feels all natural. This
Got that
is
ray tracing, baby.
oh man, this game is fucking gorgeous.
Lots of
and-
water reflections.
and the sound design. Oh my goodness, it is so good. Combat
Why
feels
does this game kind of remind me of what's that studio that's known for doing like bullet hells, but like really fancy ones? Like, oh god, it's the studio that made Returnal. Like, it looks like a Housemark. It reminds me of kind of like a Housemark game because it's there's so many like lights and laser beams and just the whole game looks like a light show.
I don't.
But this
know
is
what
not
you're talking
Housemark.
about. This is not Housemark.
You don't know what I'm
this
talking
is,
about?
This is Neon Giant. They're a new studio. In fact, this game actually came out last year, but it got a physical port this year, and I picked that up. So that's what I played. This game is pretty basic in its gameplay loop. You're just going out there, you're given a task to go do something somewhere, and you are going back and returning your quests. That's all you're doing, really, and just feeding into an overall branching story while you're not branching, but an overall growing story in which you're trying to figure out why the Ascent group collapsed.
It's weird because on one hand, I mean, it looks fun. It looks like it's got a lot of from a design perspective, like visually and auditory, design. It seems great, but it also seems like like the most basic design doc for a video game. We give you a gun, you shoot things. We give you fetch, like, go do this, you do it. It's just like super simple.
I mean,
Is
yeah,
that what you're telling me?
That's kind of it. I will say that there is some definite inspiration from Diablo likes of going through, searching through a map, finding loot, collecting loot, building, selling, stuff like that. There is
Does it
a
branch
very
at any point?
I'm sorry?
Like, or does the story or like the levels, like, do they branch at any point, or is it pretty like linear? Like, is it funneling you?
It's not linear. The story is linear. You'll unlock side quests as you progress throughout the game, and your abilities to survive through them is based on your level. your experience and leveling system. But the linear, it's a linear story. You do not get any kind of branching decisions or anything like that.
No agency, like you said, to like
Zero
change it or
agency.
anything.
In fact, your character doesn't even have a voice. They don't say anything. They just kind of do what they're told.
They just wait. They just manage waste and do what they're told.
Basically, yeah, that's how you start the game. You're literally going into waste management, clearing out a bunch of shit, clearing out monsters that are hiding there, and then the game story actually starts. But as far as like map design, no, it is not a linear game.
Gotcha.
This game has 4 tiers to the Arcology, and each tier is pretty fucking huge.
So it's not like level based. You're like I guess it's on one level. So like you're moving between levels of this Arcology, right? And you can kind of fully explore each level.
Yeah, you can go back and forth between all the levels whenever you want, pretty much as far as based on where you are in the story. But the real gate to progression is basically where you are in the story and your ability to survive based on your skill level. There are some
there skill trees.
Kinda. So it's a very light RPG aspect to the game. It's basically upgrading weapons and upgrading your character. There are no skill trees, but you can put points into certain aspects of your character, like endurance, health, accuracy,
like
things like that.
Yeah, it's like the most basic RPG stat mechanic.
Very basic stuff.
Level,
what I will give it credit for, though, in which you don't see with a lot of RPGs, is that the changes that you apply to your character stats does apply to your physical character. Because it is a cyberpunk game. So when you invest in health or like accuracy, you'll see like mechanical augmentations on your character. To where by the end of the game, you look like some kind of cyborg thing going on.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's real light, but it's a nice touch. But yeah, the main thing about the game is the combat. It's really kind of just like run in reverse, dodge, and crouch behind cover to just take out waves of enemies that come at you.
Yeah.
You'll have
and enjoy the pretty lights.
Enjoy the pretty lights. I will say that the gunplay is really enjoyable. There's a lot of variety there. You can find a lot of different weapons to unlock. One late game, I got into a loop where I had like a machine gun primary and then a laser shotgun secondary. But late in the game, I found this chain gun shotgun.
What?
Yeah, just off the beaten path. I believe it's called the Deal Breaker. And it is gratuitous and delightful, and perfect for taking out like groups of mutants and stuff like that. And in that regard, I will say the best levels, the best experiences in the game are definitely late game after you've earned some abilities and the game actually starts throwing at you a good amount of enemies. The last level alone, like half of it is you just trying to get through a certain level that you hadn't had access to before, and just fighting just metric fuck tons of mutants. But by that point, like you understand the gameplay loop, you understand how to use your weapons, and it just feels fucking great.
So maybe perhaps my last question about this: is the story interesting? Does it deliver on anything, on any of its promise at all, or?
So I will say
you seem hesitant.
I mean, again, you know how I am. I don't like the fact that there's no player agency afforded to you.
Right.
And there is a decent mystery to be had here to explore that you eventually find out. But because you're basically facilitating the story and not having any ability to make choices or alter the course of events, it's I think it fails in that regard. But I did enjoy what was here. You have to realize is that with games that try to go full dystopian cyberpunk, like true to the material, you're not supposed to have a voice. You're not supposed to have an influence on the system. And that's what you get in this game. So you
For
just
better
kind
or
of
worse.
yeah, for better or worse, you experience what is thrown before you, and you get an ending, roll credits. You don't get much beyond that.
You know what else you could say? You could say the same thing about The Last of Us,
I mean,
and that game's pretty good.
yeah, but in
to
The
bring up
Last of Us, your
again.
characters have a voice and they have interactions, and you don't have that in this game.
That's true.
seem
You
to be
literally
interacting.
go to a person, they give you an assignment, you go do the assignment, you turn it in, and you get
nod
money.
quietly, and then you do it. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Fair
Um,
enough.
But
Fair
yeah,
enough.
again, I think this is a game you want to play for the combat. Really, the weapons again, they feel really good. There's a good balance of weapon status effects that you can apply on enemies. I have an ability here that allows me to stun an enemy for a set amount of time using a little robot, and if I inflict enough damage to that enemy, it fills up a meter, and if the meter gets full, the enemy just kind of inflates and then explodes in a just viscera of gore.
Does that damage enemies in its general vicinity?
Yes, so they become basically a grenade from you shooting them.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that in this game. One late game ability allows you to just call in a mech, and you can just run around in a mech. But yeah, this game is really cool. I really love
you should have led with you can get in a mech and just
Mech, you say?
I mean, there are mechs in this game. My first encounter with a mech was kind of terrifying because I was kind of running around and I walked outside of a building, after completing a quest, and there was a mech right in front of me, and they're so fucking imposing the way they're originally designed that it kind of frightened me. And it immediately murdered me, but I got into a loop and I figured out how to kill it. It was really cool.
And those are the same mechs you get to eventually pilot? Or
no,
or
you get a smaller
use, or-
mech that does a lot of damage, but it's not as pretty as that one.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
so
this game's pretty
the
cool.
Ascent.
Yeah, the Ascent. It actually
played on
just
console,
released some DLC this past month called the Cyber Heist. So I want to sit down and find some time to actually play through that. Also,
Something
real
tells
quick,
me
I
you'll
do want to
find the
mention
time.
this game is built for 4-player co-op, and I believe it's supposed to have crossplay, or it's supposed to have crossplay depending on your console. But I would
Interesting.
love if I could find someone that could actually play with me, because I'm one trophy away from actually platinuming this. So
Nice.
yeah, it's a pretty good game.
Well,
I do like it.
And this does come out this year.
Came out last year. It got a physical release this year.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
All
this
right,
was
The
actually
Ascent,
an
thank you.
Xbox exclusive for a while. And then it got like 6 or 8 months went by. The exclusivity period expired, and they released it. So
Wait.
yeah.
Cool. All right. The Ascent. Thank you.
Actually, there's the mech right there. That's the
holy
mech.
shit. It's way bigger than I was expecting.
Oh
to be
yeah,
totally
there's.
honest.
He said,
You had to realize
Yeah,
that when
you know
I
one.
said the survivability of the game depends on your skill level, like it's really about that. You have to level up your guns, you have to level up yourself, because you will find just pockets of the map or even entire sectors to where enemies can be 10, 20 levels ahead of you, and they just fucking destroy you. So
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Damn it. Bog Noise in chat just pointed out that this game was on Game Pass. Missed my opportunity.
it might still be on Game Pass. I'm not certain.
I suppose I should check. But don't games usually aren't they usually available on Game Pass for a certain window? Or maybe it's not. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're just permanently on Game Pass.
There's some that are
weird.
permanent, some that are not.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll check it out. All right, Crispy, I want to turn it over to you. I want to check. So last time we talked on the podcast, you're shaking your head like you don't want to talk about. You hadn't started playing Immortality yet. Brad and Nolan had touched on it. No, and you've now played all the way through it.
Yes.
Chris,
And-
you finished it?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't even
Did-
finished it yet.
Oh.
So where do you land on Immortality?
Oh, wow. What a roller coaster of emotions I had playing that game. but not for a while. For a while, I was just confused and lost.
For
And
sure. That's definitely how
it's
it
just
starts.
like, okay, okay. The whole like conceit of it, which we already talked about last time, but just to remind you, the conceit of it is that you're watching like both like you're watching production clips from like 3 different movies in an actress's career, right?
Yeah.
And I I mean, this is just me. This isn't on the game, but this is just how confused I was. I knew that and still didn't realize that like the star of the third movie was the same woman as the other 2 movies. It was like because there's no like yeah, I
She's
don't know.
that good of an actress.
I guess, but also like I think the timeline just fucked me up like real bad and I don't even know if saying that is a spoiler. I don't think it is. But like it's like this actress and she did 3 movies. She like did one in the 60s, one in the 70s and then like one in the 90s, right?
Oh, I didn't know they were spread over that much time. That's
That,
interesting.
is that should I not say that? Nolan, I
Oh.
don't know. What is that?
Let's not
that's
go too deep
I
into
don't think
that.
that's a spoiler though.
Okay.
It's not a spoiler.
I don't think that's a spoiler. I think that's
How
just
do you
like
know, Chris Davis? You
the
played this
fact.
game?
No, but that's what they talked about in the
I
marketing
will-
materials.
I was
So
just kind of confused. Like I think I was
Chris
just
Davis
confused.
reads all the marketing materials.
I don't know. I was really confused, but I don't want my discussion to be monopolized by that little oopsie on my part. But
Well,
I-
anyways,
I-
all
that
this stuff
does
is covered in the
that might
opening.
give you
in
an
the
idea
opening
of like
it,
how
so.
like confused. Right, but then you just spend hours just like going through all these clips that have like no context whatsoever, and half the time you're watching like people behaving sincerely and then you're watching them like shoot a scene in a movie that you also don't know the plot to, like you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
But
it's
now,
so
like,
weird.
Chris, do you
But-
understand that the first time we talked about this, when at that point Brad and I had only played maybe 4 or 5 hours, do you not like they're really good actors?
They're good, and I was honestly like way more into the story of the movies than I was like whatever was going on with the characters, like the you know the real world characters
Right.
Sure.
themselves, right?
The
Because
mystery that you as the player are in fact trying to get to the bottom of.
the people that it revolves around, I mean it revolves mainly around the actress, but the director of a couple of these movies is also like kind of a prominent figure, so he's around in a lot of the material. But like most of the material has like actors or production people who like are only involved in that movie, so you only see them like in certain sets of clips, and then like and the way you maneuver between the clips, like we already mentioned, is a very stream of conscious kind of way. It's like you're just clicking on something and it's match cutting it with something in a different clip, whether or not that clip has anything to do with what it's match cutting. And sometimes that match cutting comes into play as like a storytelling device. Like sometimes it's drawing connections for you that you're like, oh wow, like you know, like wild stuff. And it gets really weird. And Brad and Nolan were talking about how it got really weird and how like they weren't expecting it. I had no idea what you guys were talking about, and it got full on like Twin Peaks mode on me within 15 minutes. And I was like, what the
Oh,
fuck is
shit.
going on? Like
Yep.
stumbled into shit that was just like, what the fuck? You know? And was losing my mind about how cool it was, and was so cool. But then I played for like another 10 hours, and it's just like I'm just like I'll go through like these long stretches where I'm just watching like mundane conversations, and it's just blah 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 blah, blah, you know. And then like there will be a clip that's like really fucking weird and doesn't make any sense, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? And then you fall down another rabbit hole, and then you kind of just like then all of a sudden you're watching people drink water bottles and watching like a table read for a movie that doesn't exist for like 19 minutes, and it just like
But that's what I'm saying, Crispy, is like some of those like table reads that are so long, they're acting. You know what I'm saying? Like this is an actual scene that
right,
they're acting,
and
even though they're not supposed to
acting, and like I was losing my mind, and like I was doing a thing that I don't know, like I don't know. I was attributing so much to the story it was telling, right? And I was like, I was like just fucking losing it in like the full on like film school mode where I'm just like, oh my god, like the membrane between author and audience and like the framing device and how he's doing like a Godard over here where he's like reminding you of the artifice of film and like all this stuff and like I'm going fucking crazy. And then after a while I'm just like, this doesn't deserve that. And then after a while I'm like, maybe it does. Like and then the place that I landed at the end of the game was that was fun. It was amazing. I'm never gonna think about it again. And I wish this wasn't a video game. Like I wish he had just like
What a
made
roller
a fucking
coaster.
like I wish he had just made a movie. I wish he had just like done TV or written a book. But like it sucks to say that. Like I don't want that to be my opinion of the game, right? Like I don't want the game to be I don't want the idea to be like, okay, you made a video game about things that like don't make good video games. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't even know how to like draw a comparison. It would be like it'd be like taking like Tolstoy's writing and turning it into a D&D campaign. You know what I'm saying? It's like this just doesn't work. Like and like it's not that this story doesn't have any artistic merit. It's just why are we doing it here in this like incredibly dumbed down gamified setting almost. You know what I mean? Like I feel like because it's a game, it can't just be abstruse. Like it can't just be weird. It can't just be this like thing that you're imprinting on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have to reward you with answers. They have to like spell things out for you in the end. It's like, okay, you clicked all the things. You did.
You gotta make your efforts as a player worthwhile.
You did all the things, so now here's the truth, the objective truth, which to me, for this kind of thing, is fucking insane. Like, I don't know.
The problem I'm
like,
having, Krispy, is like, yeah, I don't know. Like, for $1 billion, I could not tell you where I am at in this game because I have no concept of a goal or a time.
You're in the thick of it.
Yeah, like I do not know if I'm in the first like 10% still or if I'm at 90% already. I really don't know because of how you play the game and how things are move around. And yes, I do not know what the end game is going to be like. I do not know how this stories is going to end.
You know what's kind of fucked up? You know what's kind of fucked up? It is kind of that way. Just the way that I assume Telling Lies was. I didn't play Telling Lies, but definitely the way that her story was. Where, like, you know the game's over, not because the game is necessarily telling you it's over, but because it's like, oh, I know everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it is like, it like is this natural... It's this natural endpoint where you're like, okay, that's the thing. I can see the whole picture now, you know? And then the game tells you, okay, it's over. But also, it does the same thing that her, like, it did this thing that her story did that, like, I forgot about. And I don't know if I talked about this when we talked about her story, but it is something that, like, I don't know if it negatively impacted my experience, but it was kind of like, you know, like, it did kind of pull me out at moments where, like, when I click on, like, so it doesn't tell you what your goal is, right? You instinctively just kind of feel like your goal is to learn the truth. Like, what happened to
You'll
these
know
people?
it when you see it, maybe?
Kind of. Like, I mean, it's like 6 hours in, and they're showing me things that I'm like, so that's, I guess that's that, right? You know, like that kind of thing. And they'll do little, like, so like you'll get these achievements that say things like, find out what happened to so-and-so, right? And, like, that achievement pops up as soon as you click on the video. But the video might be 10 minutes long, right?
Oh, shit.
So hold on. To my knowledge, I think there is a point in the video where if you hit that point, that's when the achievement pops.
Well, the last one I got, it definitely popped because, like, I got there from a match cut. And as soon as I got there and started, like, and touched the timeline, it was like, here you go. Like, you got the achievement. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'll watch this, and then that'll be the last thing I do in this game. And then I watched it, and it was the last thing I did in the game. Like, you know what I mean? And I know there are certain clips I haven't seen, but I don't think there's any clips that add additional like progress content than what I've already seen. And
Right.
that's why I say it feels weird. Like I don't know. It's like watching an episode of Twin Peaks and getting an achievement. You know what I mean? Like I don't it just clashes so hard. And you could definitely make some kind of fucking hoity-toity argument about, oh well, that's the point. It's like the story is kind of about how stories clash with medium, and the director is constantly drawing your attention to the fact that you're watching an artifice of an artifice, like because like some of these clips are just like scenes from a movie that doesn't exist, and you're like, I'd watch that movie, but
Which
Can't.
but then, like,
which
at the end of the scene that you're, like, invested in, there'll be, like, a cut, okay, and then, like, you get into that, like, kind of moment, like, in that one episode of The Rehearsal, where, like, they have that really emotional scene where she's, like, yelling at him, and then he's like, okay, can we do another one? And, like, the whole thing just, like, disappears, Like, the
Yeah.
illusion is immediately shattered. Like, there's a lot of really cool moments like that, and a lot of stuff that I think plays into the themes of the game. Is this kind of like discordance between fiction and media, I guess? But
So,
then it doesn't feel like the story should be in the medium that it's in. And
Yeah.
and you could say like, oh, what a success, but I also feel like fuck. Like I found a brilliant artist who's working in the wrong medium. But that's not my place to say. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's
So-
kind of how I feel.
Crispy, I think I have an idea, but what would you say your favorite movie was of the three?
Oh, that's a good question, isn't it? I was really into the cop movie, the 70s one.
Minsky?
Minsky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's probably my number one.
there was like an emotional arc that once I started like getting it, once I started understanding what the plot of that movie was, I was like, oh man, I would fucking watch that. You know what I mean? And
it would be so cool if like you could play this entire game and do all this stuff, but like as you're going, kind of piece together the movie and then watch it from start to finish. I mean, I know that wouldn't necessarily gel with like
what's
what you're actually
particularly
trying
weird.
to do.
What's particularly weird is more so than the others, the third movie, which is kind of like an intense thriller type movie. The third movie, you can only get the narrative by mixing and matching like actual takes with like pre-production rehearsals.
Yeah.
So like you'll see one scene that cuts into another scene, and the scene that it cuts into is one from like a year before where they're like on a soundstage just doing like fake fighting rehearsals and stuff. But like yeah, that one's also like super. And the fucked up thing, the really not fucked up, but like the fucking mind trip that you get, especially with that movie, is that like that movie's very much about like one character being victimized by other characters. But then when they cut and like everyone's just like their normal selves, the person who's playing the victim is actually like kind of the one who's like terrorizing everybody else. You know what I mean? So
It's-
like
the interesting thing I had with this, Crispy, is because you're obviously playing a game, but it's playing a game about movies being made, about like I often forget what's going on. I'm like, wait, am I watching a scene or is this behind the scenes? Like so every once in a while, I'll kind of lose my place in what's going on in the game.
it's rough. It's rough.
Yeah.
But like the thing that kind of like hurt me was like realizing, everyone wants, everyone, including the game itself, the Steam page, I'm pretty sure says this straight up, is like comparing this to like Lynchian movies, like a David Lynch-esque psychological adventure kind of thing, right? But like, imagine if like say I don't know, the cowboy from Mulholland Drive, right? Imagine if he just like monologued straight to camera and told you like what his whole deal was, what he was all about, and like what he represented, right? That would suck. Like that would really suck. That would not be cool. I would not be into it. And this game does shit like that.
Mm,
and it
gotcha.
kind of like throws a wet towel over the whole thing for me.
So
And
I have a
but
question.
there's no fixing it because I understand why it does that because it's a fucking video game, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. What a
What's up, Nick?
fascinating thing this is. And this is I don't I'm just I don't know how to ask this. I'm just going
I
to
don't
ask it
think this is a
because I know
bad
you're a
game.
big fan
I
of.
don't.
I
I do
know.
not think it's a bad game, and in fact, I recommend everybody go play it right now. Especially if you have Game Pass, go download it and play it. It's great. I think everyone should experience this. I think Sam Barlow should be incredibly proud of what he's done. But like, this is a piece that has given me a bit of a personal crisis, a little bit. No, I mean, not really, but you know, if I'm putting on
Right.
my media analysis, my analytical side, and looking at a game like this, I see a game that is in conflict, you know,
Yeah.
with itself. I'm
And
sorry.
you know what?
What were you gonna ask, Nick?
Well, I just want to point out. I always know it's going to be good when I turn it over to Crispy and I'm like, all right, Crispy, tell us about this game. And Crispy's first reaction is to like cover both of his eyes and just like like it's like, oh man, it's one of those. Okay, my question is, and this is an incredibly simple question, but it's probably not a very simple answer, or maybe it is. I don't know. You love Her Story a lot.
Mhm.
Now that you've played all the way through Immortality, how does it? Would you still 100% recommend Her Story over Immortality to anybody who maybe has never played a Sam Barlow game? Which one is the more interesting thing,
Ooh.
I suppose?
Okay.
Like,
Well, I feel like there's a couple different answers you're fishing for with this question, so I'll just give you all of them.
I'm
All
trying to
right.
not just ask like which one's the better game.
It's not a simple question, and I'm gonna give you a complicated answer. Here we go. The personal stakes for me, I think I love Her Story more than I do this game.
Okay.
Okay. I think I had a much more like I had more of an
Cohesive.
experience with Her Story. You know what I mean? That was something that was really new and really fascinating and just like found me at the right time and hit me in a certain way that was like, wow, this is incredible. And I don't know if it's me or if it's just the way that game is made, but the whole like gamification element of it that kind of leads to a sort of upfrontedness that I'm kind of like decrying here in Immortality did not bother me as much in Her Story. And I think maybe it's just the fact that like Her Story isn't nearly as weird
Yeah, it's not as
as
disorienting,
Immortality is,
maybe.
For
right?
sure.
Right. So it has room to kind of be a mystery. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And a mystery with a solution,
Right.
right? Um, so I think personally I enjoy Her Story more. That's not to say I didn't enjoy Immortality. I do really love Immortality. I would recommend playing it if I was trying to introduce somebody to Sam Barlow's stuff specifically. I might say play Her Story first and then try Immortality because they are pretty different. They both do the same thing with very different material to very different effect.
Okay.
As far as like evolution of Sam Barlow as an artist and like the games he's making, I think this one is definitely like a step forward. Like
Yeah.
I think there is an amazing amount of progress in this game. And but
You can see.
that's coming from someone who skipped his last game, you know?
Yeah, you can
But
see his like that he views the medium in a different way than most, I would say.
he took the ideas that he had before. I mean, this is definitely kind of a refinement of ideas he's been working on, right? And the especially these sort of like organizational and like system end ideas of like what a game experience should be, like how it should be framed for a player, is crazy. Like the stuff that he's doing in Immortality is like nobody. I can't imagine anybody thinking up a game like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is really weird. It's really interesting, but it becomes super intuitive, like
I would
Right.
in a
liken it
weird way.
to shit. What was Lucas Pope's most recent
Oh,
game?
Oberdin.
Oberdin. I would liken it to Oberdin, in like the kind of mystery, kind of solving it, but a little weird. But I would say Oberdin's kind of between Her Story and Immortality. It's a
I
good
Yeah.
love
merging
Overton.
of them. Oberdin was
I
good.
love Overton.
Dude,
Overton.
Oberdin's So good.
Oberdin is another one of those things too, where it's like you are very clearly after an objective truth, right?
Yes.
Immortality is just like it's a little too heady for that. You know what I
No,
mean?
yeah, for sure.
Like it's a little too heady to like take you on this journey and then show you an end of it and be like, well, there it is, there's the goal, and you're like, well, no, the goal was everything that just happened. Like
So, like I said,
this is cheapening it. Like
having not beaten the game yet, I have not seen that. So maybe my opinion will change.
Are you gonna keep going with it, Nolan?
Oh yeah,
if you're trying,
I will, but I have no idea how long it's going to be.
if you're, I mean, it is like the how long to beat on it said like what 10 hours or something, and
I would
think that's
assume I'm close then.
I think it's accurate. I don't know. I'm sure there's a bunch of clips you've been favoriting, Nolan.
Oh yeah,
Wink,
for
wink.
sure. Yes.
I think
yes.
by the time I finished, I had like maybe a dozen of those.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
I don't know what that means, but it seems mysterious.
I would assume I'm pretty close then.
I think you're probably getting there.
All right.
If you're at the point where you're like asking, oh, which of the 3 movies was your favorite, then I think you are close.
Okay.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. All right. Well, fascinating. Thank you, Crispy. I was excited to hear that you were going to play this after hearing Brad and Nolan talk about it last week, and I could see kind of like the glint in your eye. I was like, oh, but what's it going to be? What's going to happen?
I mean, just to clear it up, it is a top 10 for me so far this year for sure. Like it's really
cool.
good.
Good to know. Good to know. Well, I still have it installed. I got it on Game Pass. I spent a little bit of time finishing Cult of the Lamb. Otherwise, I probably would have been delving into this. Real quick, before we cut to break, I know, Chris Davis, you had one more quick mention. This is a demo. Oh, you're muted. You're muted, bro.
Would help if I unmuted myself. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a demo for a game that actually comes out at the end of the month. It's called Undetected. I'm going to roll the footage real quick. So this is from Antonio Freire. He's the guy that put out the Chameleon last year. You might remember that we did a Steam we did the Steam Next Fest and I played a demo of it and we talked about it. I think somebody else played it too and enjoyed it.
It's not jumping to mind, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. I have bad memory.
Okay.
I'm going to use Google.
Yeah, this is a quote unquote cyberpunk stealth action game. I don't know if you're watching the footage, but you might see it might look a little familiar to you.
It looks like Metal Gear Solid 1.
Yeah, it certainly does. Certainly looks like a certain multi-million-dollar franchise and an homage to one of probably the greatest games ever made. And it's
even the camera angles and everything. Damn.
Yeah, it's
oh my god, and the fucking CQC.
Yep, and the aiming and the camera angle and how you hide behind walls and everything. And this wants to be very much Metal Gear Solid 1, and it's most certainly
one of those. This is another one of those games where it's like, can they do this? It's like that Star Fox game you showed the other week, where it's like, can they do this?
Yeah, Ex Zodiac. Yeah. This tries to be like a simplified Metal Gear Solid. I guess the one gimmick it has is that you are not allowed to kill anyone. All of your weaponry and attacks are meant to pacify or knock out.
That is why Chris Davis is playing this right there.
No, not really. I saw the art style and I was like, ooh, Metal Gear. So I was like, okay, I got to play this.
Go for it.
And it's all sorts of just okay. I'm getting the same vibes I had with Chameleon, which I did not enjoy Chameleon really, but that was the demo also.
By the way, I tried to look up Chameleon and it pulled up all the Google images that came up were some kind of board game called Chameleon. I was like, I don't think this is what Chris Davis is talking about.
That is not what I'm talking about.
No. I'm still in the dark on the Chameleon.
Yeah. This is a simple stealth action game. You basically, if you're in the dark, you're invisible, basically. You could be right in front of a guard and they wouldn't see you. If you're in the light, you can be seen for miles.
Sounds a little like Alpha Protocol so far.
Yeah, but I think the stealth mechanics in Alpha Protocol are a little bit more forgiving than this. You can die very easily in this game. A lot of it's very automatic in what you do. And I'm not... This footage may look seamless, but it is certainly not. I had to cut it up and try to get special runs of areas, which took quite a while.
I'm gonna be honest, Chris Davis. You sound like you went through a lot of trouble to get like the perfect.
I went
footage
through
for
a
this
lot
game.
of trouble to generate this
just
footage
say-
for a game that I'm not really feeling.
Yeah, to say that it's just a lot. It's all kinds of okay.
Yeah, it's all kinds of okay.
Very meh.
It is very
Very
it's
mid
not even
as
mid.
our-
It's
Mid?
meh. I
Meh?
will say that.
Meh, Gear.
Not even mid, huh?
Yeah, this
Middle Gear Solid. That's
Meh.
is a very punishing demo. The tutorial section alone is punishing, and just not punishing in a good way. I just wish it was better. I kind of wanted to just show you that. Yeah, I just wanted to show off this footage real quick. So
You're just you're just doing this all solid by showing us footage of a game that you maybe don't recommend. But that's cool.
yeah,
hit.
pretty
That's-
much.
That's what we're here for. Anyways, all right, we're going to take a quick break, everybody, if you're watching at home. Like I said, we got a lot of news to cover in the second segment, but you have just a minute or two more if you want to enter your name in the raffle for a copy of Animutation. Go ahead and do that now because we're going to draw a winner over the break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about all that juicy Nintendo Direct State of Play stuff, the Assassin's Creed event, Amy Hennig's new Marvel game. There's lots of stuff to talk about.
Fuck
So
time.
if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show, everybody. So much news to talk about. We're just gonna real quick before we get too far into that. During the break, we picked our winner, so congratulations to Revixie in chat, the third giveaway winner for our Anno Mutationum Switch code. I'll be sending you that code later, probably in Discord, since I know you are an active member in our Discord. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Big thanks to everybody who entered. Also, a quick shout out: the first two giveaways I did, which were predominantly on YouTube and on the website. I asked people to submit what their favorite indie darling of the year is, just for funsies. That was the way you entered. A lot of votes for TMNT Shredder's Revenge, and also a lot of votes for Sifu. Also some other out there choices, which is really cool. It's always nice to hear those, hear about those games. I did a lot of Googling for some of those things that I'd never heard of, but those are the two games that probably came up the most. Also, Sifu, still kicking my ass. Still haven't beat the second boss, but then again, haven't devoted a ton of time to it because I was trying to finish Cult of the Lamb, like I said. Don't look at me like that, Chris Davis. Chris Davis just had that look of like, you haven't beat the second boss? What do you suck? Also, playing on normal, sir.
I
Nick,
mean,
how far did you get in Cult of the Lamb?
I finished it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's a pretty cool game.
Yeah, for sure.
Seafood probably would be a pretty good game to play while you're on your vacation.
I'm not playing it on. I'm playing it on PS5.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I theoretically could play it on with remote play on my Steam Deck, but I haven't jumped through the hoops necessary to make that work. And also, that would probably not be the ideal way to play a very intensive Twitch-based video game like that. You know what I mean? The input lag would probably be a bitch. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Congratulations to Revixie. It is time to talk about the news. There's been a lot since the last show we were on. And Chris Davis suggested that we start with the big one, which is basically just kind of a rundown of all of the Nintendo Direct and Sony State of Play headlines, because there was a lot. Oh my god. Excuse me. I'm going to sneeze. Never mind. I'm not. Nintendo Direct happened, was that yesterday or 2 days ago? I don't remember.
Two.
But it was 40 minutes long. So there's a lot of stuff in there. Some of it new, some of it's ports, kind of the usual fare for Nintendo, but there's definitely some gems in there that are worth mentioning. So I'm
There were
going to run
about
through
39 farming games.
Yeah,
God, I was going to bring that up. Holy shit, there's so many farming games now.
How many of those are you going to play, Noah? I feel like
None.
None?
No? There's too many. I already have a list of 40 farming games I could play right now.
Yeah, well, there's 40 more coming now.
I know. It just seemed like literally a third at least of the games they announced had some sort of farming aspect to them.
Yeah, it's like it's setting up 2023 to be the year of the farming simulator.
Mhm.
But you know, let's just kind of run through them. We're gonna kind of breeze over a lot of these because they're smaller, but worth mentioning, I suppose. But
Can
they
I mention
opened-
just real quick before we really get into it that
Yeah.
this direct had the absolute worst named game I've ever heard of.
Wait.
cannot-
I wrote most of this down. Now I kind of want to figure out which one it was.
Just you'll know it when you see it.
Maybe I didn't write it down because it was too hard. Too hard. Was it Master Detective Archives? That one?
No,
No?
that's a decent name.
Is it now?
Yes.
Okay, I have no idea. Which one are you referring to?
Various Day Life.
Oh yes, I started writing that down, and then I remember hitting delete because I didn't know what the fuck he said.
What in the fuck?
That's
That
Various
is
Day Life.
terrible.
Various, dude. Yeah, it's a weird name. Was that one of the
Various
farming
Days Gone.
simulators?
Yes.
Yeah,
That was one of the
It's-
5 farming simulator games.
it's
5.
funny. I had no idea if that was actually one of the farming simulators. It was just kind of like throw a dart at the dartboard. You're probably gonna hit a farming simulator. Anyways,
Oh,
so this
man.
Nintendo Direct opened with a new Fire Emblem game
Yes.
called Fire Emblem Engage, which at first I was like, is this like a actual follow up to like Three Houses, like a proper Fire Emblem sequel, or is this more of like one of those weird spin-offs kind of thing? But turns out, it looks like it's a proper, fully fledged Fire Emblem game. This is one of those things that I feel like, man, Brad should probably be here to talk about. I know he has issues with some of the character designs in this
Wait,
game.
Is this the game with the cherry and blue raz icy swirl guy?
Yes, yes. I don't hate it. Like quite honestly, I know.
Don't you like work in design, Nick?
Yes. I mean, not technically, but I kind of acknowledge that it's kind of an
Sure.
eyesore. But for some part of my brain is like,
But that gives
I
it
dig it.
character.
yeah, sure. But it also has
I
kind of
get it.
like the.
I get
But
it.
it also has kind of like the, third 3D world, like you're running around, an actual place, kind of like you were running around the school in Three Houses. Like it kind of has that vibe with it, as well as the battles. And this is one of those games I really wish Brad was here, because he could probably talk at length about like how Fire Emblem as a series has kind of evolved until it's gotten to this point. So I'll probably want to check in with him next week when we have him back on the show and see what he really thinks about it. But personally, I'm kind of excited for this. I don't know why. I've never been like the hugest Fire Emblem fan, but like something about this just kind of spoke to me. What's up?
Because every time a new Fire Emblem comes out, you trick yourself into thinking, "This is the one. This is the one that makes me a Fire Emblem fan."
No, but
I'm gonna like Fire Emblem after this.
No, Three Houses was definitely the one, that game. But like the irony is that I still haven't committed to like finishing that game.
So
fucking Three Houses is like Hogwarts with
with other people who
Hogwarts,
aren't
but with
fucking
war.
nerds.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There should be some jocks with swords beating up on wizards at Hogwarts, shouldn't there?
Oh man, I also want to hear I also am curious what Ed feels about this, because Ed played like Three Houses like 6 times or something crazy.
Yeah, I did.
But anyways,
I had
Fire
yet
Emblem
to-
Engage.
I have yet to play a Fire Emblem game, and I was thinking, it's been long enough to where I don't need to play Houses. Maybe I might as well just play this fresh, brand new one. And I'm
You
worried.
don't need to play Houses. Houses is like universally beloved, but we're getting back into that Yakuza 0 versus.
That's
Yakuza
exactly
one's
my
conversation
worry,
again.
is
This
that we're
one's
going to get
unproven.
this bullshit if I play this instead of Houses.
It is
or-
kind of insane though that you didn't start with Yakuza 0. I'm just saying.
Oh my fucking god!
All right,
That is
moving
crazy.
on.
That's the one. That's the one to do it. As someone who started playing Yakuza games with that one, that's the one.
All right. He said his piece. Don't worry about it. Moving on. They announced ports for It Takes Two on the Switch, which is kind of cool because you can play local and what do they call it, where you only have to have one copy between the 2 Switches?
Oh.
Like
You know what I'm talking
shared
about?
play or something like that.
Shared play
Yeah.
or whatever that's called. So It Takes Two, which is a fucking phenomenal game. One of the best games of the year, I think, last year for sure. Is coming to Switch, and that's exciting. They announced Fatal Frame: Mask of the Lunar Eclipse.
Fatal Frame 4, basically.
Fatal Frame 4. This is the one game in the series I have not yet played because it was never localized. So the fact that it's coming to Switch is really cool. I know. So Brad played this. I think he played it in Japanese.
No, there was actually a fan localization that happened.
Yeah, there was a fan localization. I even want to say Skyliner was involved in that. Our community member
Skyliner was streaming while Brad was streaming. Skyliner was translating everything for him, basically.
Yeah. Okay. So
shout out to Skyliner, by the way. I'm sorry you had to experience that.
Always shout out to Skyliner because she's awesome. But yeah, she was sitting there and helping Brad get through Fatal Frame 4 back in the day when he was streaming it. So I love Fatal Frame as a series. It's been a long time since I've played a new one, and this one is like literally never touched it. Barely even watched Brad play it. So I'm pretty excited this is finally coming to the States. They talked about some Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC, Front Mission 1 and 2 remakes. I don't know much about Front Mission, and Brad was Brad's like, I can't wait to hear Nick's opinions on Front Mission 1 and 2 remakes, which suggests that he probably has stuff to say, but it's going to have to wait until next week. Crispy, what did you just post in our chat?
Well, you don't tell him about it.
I just looked over. I was like, "What is that?"
The fucking
the thumbnail alone is freaking me out.
You goddamn. Oh, fine. I'll post it in the regular chat.
I'm worried.
All right. Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life. This is Farming Simulator number 1. I don't know what to say about that. I don't even remember what makes this one different from the other 5 farming simulators.
Story of Seasons has a history to it. The short of it is that these are the original developers of Harvest Moon, but they weren't able to keep the IP name, so they left and they formed their own company and did this. And it's been doing every Story of Seasons supposedly is far superior to its Harvest Moon counterpart since then.
Okay, well, interesting. So if you like Harvest Moon, check out Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life. Octopath Traveler 2 was announced. I don't know. Stop me if you've heard this before. That game looks really pretty.
It does.
And
yeah.
I will say this too. They introduced like all of the 8 characters, right? Which all have new classes. All of which I'm pretty sure these are all new classes. Like none of them are like overlapping with classes that were in the first one. And I was like, every time they showed a new character and they announced their class, I was like, ooh, that sounds cool. Ooh, that's cool. I had that reaction to kind of all of them. So I was like, I like all the look and sound of all of these characters and classes. And they talked a little bit about, or at least they showed kind of what seems to be some like improvements made to this one that I think were common complaints with the first one in terms of characters being more interactive, having more crossing paths with each other more frequently, having more dialogue together. So I don't want to like fall for it again because I feel like I kind of fell for it the first time and then bounced off it really quickly, but I don't know, man. This looked cool.
You're romantic. You're a dreamer, Nick, and I like that.
I am. I fucking am. What can I say? But that's coming early next year. Final Fantasy Theatrhythm. Remember that game? Was there another part of this title I didn't write down? Because that's the name of the first
Theatrhythm Final Bar Line.
There we go. Final Bar Line.
Perfect title.
Perfect. Nailed it. Perfect title. You got it. A new Final Fantasy Theatrhythm. Again, another game that I know Brad's enthusiastic about, but he'll probably have to share it next time.
Which is also going to get a shit ton of DLC. There are multiple editions of this game. The most premium edition available gives you over 500 songs. And then on top of that, they're going to release content for Nier and a bunch of other games, Live Alive, a few others, for 90 additional songs.
Yeah.
I'm like,
that's a lot of songs.
Jesus.
That when they announce the game, they're like, hey, here, we made this game. And by the way, here's a bunch of DLC we're going to charge you.
Yeah. But, Theatrhythms are pretty cool game.
The first one. I mean, so here's my thing. the first one was on the 3DS,
Right.
and that was like the fun part. Was you're doing your like tap taps
Yeah.
on your
Yeah.
3DS. I don't know if it's going to be as fun on like a PlayStation or a Switch. I don't know if the Switch is going to be as responsive. I don't know if it's going to have like the tapping
You're not with a
functionality.
stylus or anything.
Yeah.
I always forget. Like, is the Switch a touchscreen?
Yeah.
I know. Really, it's I
Right?
forget.
Wait, is it? No. Yes. No? Yes. Maybe.
Does
No.
anybody actually know the
No.
answer to that question?
No?
Wait, what?
Yes.
What is
No.
what?
I feel like as the host of a video game podcast that's been going for 12 plus
No.
years, I should know the answer to this question, and
I'm
I
gonna say no.
don't.
Yes.
I don't know what the
was
question
right.
is.
It is.
Ravixi in chat says it is.
Yeah, no, it is. I've definitely tapped like on stuff. Yeah, it is.
Have you though?
Right? Where's my Switch? Do I have a
Somebody,
Switch? Do I own a
somebody,
Switch?
Touchscreen?
somebody
Yeah, the
go
Switch
figure
is a
that out and get
touchscreen.
back to
Yes,
us.
it's a touchscreen. Is that the question?
Yes, that's the question.
You guys are dumb.
Yeah, like what the hell?
Well,
It
all
is.
right, all right, smarty pants. Who knew? Crispy apparently. All right, Rune Factory 3. Hooray, Rune Factory! If you're, Rune Factory 3. I don't know.
That-
I have no. Is that a farming simulator?
Yes,
All right, there we go.
that was Farming Simulator number 3. The fourth
And then-
Farming Simulator was they also announced that a new Rune Factory 6, I think, is in development. So we got 4 there. We also have Fae Farm, which is one. We also had Harvestalia.
Okay, so now you're just like rattling off all the farming simulators.
Yeah, because we got to get through this. We got to go.
Yes.
Like,
All right.
it's.
Are you done? Is that
Did
it?
anyone at Nintendo like just when they were developing and marketing this direct, they were like, we have a lot of this one type of game in this direct. Maybe we should cut one of those out. Maybe 2, maybe 5 of them.
Dude,
Maybe
no.
cut
I
them
think
all
they
out.
saw. I think they saw dollar signs and are like harvest or farm simulators sell like hotcakes. So get as many in there as you possibly can.
God.
All right. They talked about some N64 games coming to the system. Pilot Wings, Mario 64, Mario Party 64, Mario Party 2, Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2, 1080 Snowboarding, Excitebike, and GoldenEye 64.
We need to
coming
talk
to the
about GoldenEye
Switch.
real quick.
Do
we?
There's a problem with GoldenEye.
Are you going to talk about the music?
No, not the music.
Okay.
No, it's not that.
I know. I played the game.
Yeah. It's a good game. It's got a great soundtrack.
All right.
It's a game.
The problem here is that this is also coming to Xbox and Game Pass.
Right.
But the version that's coming and the one that's available on Nintendo is the original 64 ROM. Now, Nintendo is getting exclusive control over online multiplayer with this game.
Okay.
Multiplayer is not coming to Game Pass or Xbox. And that's shitty in of itself. The other problem with this, the bigger problem, I think, is the fact that Microsoft had developed and completely 100% finished a HD remaster of GoldenEye. They did it years ago. It has been ready. It's been leaked. People have played it. It works and people love it. Nintendo shut them down, refused to allow them to release this, and said the only way you're getting GoldenEye on your system is if we use our version.
Right.
That is just shitty. That is just.
It is. Okay, well, here's the other part of this conversation, which we don't have to go too deep into it because we got a lot to cover tonight. But GoldenEye 64 has long been problematic because of all the licensing issues that go along with it as well.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people were just kind of under the impression that like we're probably not going to get a version of GoldenEye. I mean, how many people even want that anymore? I mean,
A lot of
GoldenEye
people
is a
do,
beloved.
actually.
I mean, GoldenEye is a beloved game, but it's also horribly dated at this point, just in terms of play. Like, the point is, like, I think a lot of people were just kind of at peace. Maybe I'm speaking out of my ass here, but I think a lot of
You
people
are
were just
speaking
kind
out
at
of your
peace
ass.
with-
There is a very.
I feel like a
vocal
lot of people are
community for
probably
this
just
game.
like kind of. I mean, I certainly was at peace with the fact that we're probably never going to get the original GoldenEye experience again. So the fact that it's coming at all is kind of shocking. Like the fact that they figured out all the licensing shit and got to where we are now. you know, I I'm I'm surprised we're even here talking about this right now. But yeah,
Weird.
GoldenEye is GoldenEye as a game in 2022 is always going to be controversial because of all this weird shit. And what Nintendo is doing might be kind of shitty, but
The one good thing I will say for the Xbox version is that it's 4K 60, and if you own Rare Replay, you get it for free.
that's cool.
Yes,
That's cool. But also the thought of playing GoldenEye without having the multiplayer component is kind of crazy. I mean, I love the single player campaign of GoldenEye, but like even I was all about the multiplayer in that game. So it seems kind of shocking. Anyways, moving right along, they announced Atelier Ryza 3, Alchemist of the End, and the Secret Key.
that's just what
that's-
these games are subtitled. That's the way they do
That's a
things.
mouthful.
This is like the 9th or 10th Atelier game, from my understanding.
Yeah, Atelier. There we go. I probably butchered that, so I apologize. But
We have
looks
some
kinda
community
cool, I
members that
guess.
really love these series.
Yeah. They announced golf is coming to Nintendo Switch Sports, which, you know what? It gave me some nostalgia for Wii Sports, which is kind of cool.
Why
That's like the
wasn't it
only
there to
thing
begin
probably-
with?
I don't know, but that's the only thing that would convince me to actually play Switch Sports. And here's the big one for me. The fucking big one. I've been waiting 7 years for this announcement. Pikmin 4 was finally announced, and I'm very, very, very happy with this.
You mean the
coming next
Pikmin game
year.
that was finished about 5 years ago? And
Yeah, I still remember the conversation with, there's an interview with Miyamoto where he's talking about they're putting the finishing touches on Pikmin 4. That was like 5 years ago. I don't know if the game that we're getting next year is even the same game as he's talking, because it sounds like maybe they went back to the drawing board. They showed very little footage of it, and it looked really cool and really nice and like a modern age Pikmin game, which is not necessarily what I would have expected if it was a game that was pretty much done with development 5 years ago.
Modern age Pikmin game. Nick, I was playing modern age Pikmin like a few hours ago tonight.
Oh, replaying the what's it called? The mobile Pikmin game?
No, Tinykin. It's one of the
Oh.
photos in our
oh
GIF.
yeah,
Wait a second. I thought that.
That's like Pikmin.
Okay, wait a sec. I'm gonna feel really bad here, Nolan. I thought
Mhm.
Brad put that on the doc, and since Brad wasn't gonna be here, I didn't. Were you gonna talk about Tinykin tonight?
I mean, I've only played a couple hours, so I mean, not a big deal, but
Okay.
I can talk about it later.
Okay.
And
I
he
feel
did
really
put it
bad.
on the doc. I didn't. I didn't put it
Okay.
on the doc.
Gotcha. Sorry. Well, there was a miscommunication. I apologize if I cheated you out of talking
Yeah,
about Tinykin
it's all
tonight. But now we know it's modern day Pikmin.
Mhm.
I didn't know that. But yeah, Pikmin 4. Very, very, very exciting for me. I loved Pikmin 1. I didn't play Pikmin 2, but Pikmin 1 and 3 especially, was fantastic. So I can't wait
mean-
to play more of this.
go back to what you were saying, Nick. Like the one of the secrets about Nintendo is that they finish games and they just box them up and just wait until the right time to release them. Like this could be the game that was developed 5 years ago. It's really
it
possible.
could be, but it could be. But I also think it has like a more modern coat of paint on it, because
Probably.
that was a pretty nice looking Pikmin game. I don't think they could have made a Pikmin game that looked that nice 5 years ago. Maybe I'm wrong. But you know, neither here nor there. We're getting a new Pikmin game next year, and that's really cool. Master Detective Archives Rain Code. What can I say about that? I don't know. They showed Resident Evil 8 in the cloud. Cool, I guess. Crisis Core.
Not
I
well,
keep forgetting.
Resident Evil in the cloud. No, fuck that. No, just no. They're all every cloud implement that has been brought out to the Switch is usually terrible. Like,
Well, I don't know. There's a demo out for Resident Evil 8 on the cloud right now.
and
So-
I watched a video of it, and it was the most stuttery piece of shit I've ever seen.
Well, that is the only way you're going to play that on the Switch, and that's kind of the trade-off. I mean, that's how they got Dying Light 2 on the fucking Switch. Radiant Silvergun, Tales of Symphonia Remastered, Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. Cool. And then they closed with Breath of the Wild 2, baby.
It's not
The
what it's
Legend of
called.
Zelda.
Nick.
The Legend of Zelda. Tears of the Kingdom. Is it Tears of the Kingdom or Tears of the Kingdom?
I think it's
Tears?
Tears.
I think it's Tears.
Or is it a play on words? Is it kind of both? I don't fucking know.
Mm.
Tears of the Kingdom.
Well, I mean,
It's
like
coming out.
it's basically Skyward Sword 2.0 with islands floating in the sky.
Okay.
So like it could have been formations of the land that tore off of Hyrule and just floated up into the air.
It could be, but also the gameplay they showed seemed to maybe suggest there's going to be some kind of like dark world element to it. But the reason, the thing that kind of caught, yeah, like
Yeah.
or other world part of it. Go watch the trailer again, man. It's
I didn't see Dark World. I saw you go. You just dive down back to Hyrule.
go watch the trailer again. There's some Easter egg thingies in there. They're being kind of coy about it. They haven't shown a ton, but there's things that seem to be kind of teasing a dark world element to it. I don't know. But the thing that kind of stuck out to me about this trailer was like this might be the game that kind of delivers on the Skyward Sword promise, or not promise, but what we all kind of wanted from Skyward Sword, which was the going into the sky and then seamlessly jumping down and being able to go back and forth seamlessly without having that horrible, cutscene that kind of transitions you between both.
Well, it's not even about a horrible cutscene. It's about the fact that you can only go down to the world in like 4 different spots in the game, and you have to fly to them. And sometimes it takes a long fucking time to fly to them.
Right. Yeah. So this definitely seems to be up in the ante. I mean, we already know Breath of the Wild set the bar pretty high in terms of for like scale and scope and stuff, and it seems like they're raising the bar by going vertical and then letting you go back and forth between the sky and the ground seamlessly. That's what they didn't show that entire seamless transition, but I think it's there.
Oh, it will be on your big stone glider.
Yeah,
Glider that's like made of stone.
Cool, yeah,
That look cool.
yeah, dude, I'm so into it.
You
I'm so
think-
excited.
You guys think that like Link fucks in this one?
I think he fucks in everyone, Crispy.
he fucks in
Does he?
everyone, man.
Really? I don't remember that.
He gets going.
You played a different game then, Crispy.
I guess.
So
I mean, it was a surprisingly horny game for no fucking, but
it's funny you say that, and my brain immediately jumps to like there's one scene in particular I think everybody's probably thinking of when you say that. Sorry.
The
Yeah,
butt.
I'm not gonna.
The
I'll
butt.
just leave it at that. Thank you, Chris Davis, for saying what should have remained unsaid.
No, it didn't need to be. Hey, I felt it needed to be said. My question I have for
God damn
y'all.
it, I'm trying to get this release date out.
Okay, go ahead and get the release date. Go.
May 12th, 2023.
too far.
That's good.
Too far. But hey, you know what? Honestly, if they had said, I forgot who. Someone in our Discord was saying this as we were watching the direct, or whatever. They're like, and they dropped the release date, and then someone was like, and all of the developers for like AAA games coming out in February and March just unpuckered their buttons in unison, just like, oh, thank God.
That being said, Fuckuary and Farch are still going on in 2023. If you look at the release dates that are coming out, it's absurd.
I'm sorry. What word did you just make up? Farch?
Fuckuary and Farch. It's the best I got. That's the best I got. My question is, I have been adamant about this game since like ever since it was announced that yeah, you'd be in the sky, but it's going to keep the same old Hyrule map. Is there still apprehension about that from y'all?
I think there is. On a surface level, my reaction is, I think that is the case. I mean, there's going to be changes. Like, it's going to be the same, like, geographically speaking, it's going to be the same with familiar areas being revamped, or, like, something will have happened to them that makes them feel different. But I don't think I have any doubt in my mind that they are going to more than make up for that aspect with new areas above, like in the sky, and maybe even underground. And also, like I was talking about, maybe if they're gonna do some kind of dark world kind of version of it too, that I think they could. I'm not worried about it. I think that is going to be the case, but I'm no longer concerned about it because I think they're really going to lean on the Sky Islands stuff to kind of
Be a
make up
big
for
part
that.
of it for sure.
All right, so that was the Nintendo Direct. It's pretty cool. And I just realized I don't have the full list in front of me for the state of play, because can you maybe pull that up, Chris Davis?
Yeah.
I don't know why Sony keeps doing these state of plays at 5 p.m., which is when I'm driving home from work, but it's like the third time they've done that this year, so that kind of sucks. So I wasn't able to sit there and like write stuff down as it was happening. But while you're
So
pulling that up,
there was a bunch of stuff. I'll paste the Eurogame article in chat real quick, so you can look at it.
chat. Oh, that one.
Twitch
Okay.
chat.
Okay.
That way our audience could watch along. As we go
Okay.
through it.
Well.
Oh wait, no, that's not it. That's from June. God damn it.
Yeah, that's. I
Why'd I
don't
do
think
that?
they talked about any of this stuff. All right. You know what? While you're looking for that, I'm gonna jump to something else for a second because I want to get Crispy's take on this, especially. But of course, everybody. I want to hear from everybody. Disney did their big unveil game event or whatever, and there was not a lot that I was particularly interested in, but they did unveil Amy Hennig's new game, which is a partnership between Skydance and Marvel and Disney. And Amy Hennig, obviously of Naughty Dog fame, she was largely responsible for the script, for penning the script for Uncharted 2, and I think even 3, maybe. And she was working on a Star Wars game for a while, and that got canceled. So everyone's been kind of like, "Oh my God, let Amy Hennig make her fucking game, for the love of God!" And now we know what she's making, and we got a first trailer. It doesn't have a title yet, which I thought was odd. That kind of doesn't bode well for like the release window, I suppose. But let me tell you, the concept really gets me excited. It looks to be a World War II era Captain America team up with Black Panther game.
Yep.
Which sounds crazy, and there's
well,
4
I don't
playable
even know that
characters,
it.
I think.
I don't even know that it's necessarily a team up because wasn't the idea that it's like gonna take place in different parts of the world? Like Captain America is gonna be in Europe, and Black Panther is gonna be in Wakanda.
Yeah. So like you can see kind of in the key art they showed.
Well, actually,
like,
I mean,
you
I
can
guess
see,
we don't know.
well, so there's 4 characters. There's 4 characters in the poster. There's also an interview she did on stage where they were asking a lot of questions about what we can expect from the game in terms of the how it plays, what kind of game is it, and she's like, if you've played my games before, you should have a pretty good idea of what to expect in terms of it being very cinematic, very story heavy, very character focused. So I don't know if this is like a drop in, drop out co-op game, or if it's just a single story told with 4 different characters. It's hard to tell. But there's 4 characters, and the other 2 were kind of that aren't really confirmed yet. One appears to be a character from Wakanda. I don't know which one. And then the other one is a World War II era soldier. And I've got to ask, does that not kind of imply that it's Bucky?
No, it doesn't.
No, there were plenty of Howling Commandos.
No. Yeah. The thing is, like Marvel, before they even did superheroes, their biggest titles were westerns and war comics, and that's where you get like Nick Fury. That's where you get a lot of the like Shield agent characters. Originally, they were Nick Fury. There were Sergeant Fury's Howling Commandos, and that was probably the most. That is like kind of where Captain America got thrown into the mix, and those are probably their like biggest like Silver Age sort of comics. So there's a very strong World War II tradition in the Marvel universe. Looking at the character art, though, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't jump out. This character doesn't jump out as being one that I'm familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
He has a trumpet, which is interesting.
You're right. I never noticed that.
It could be someone that I'm just not familiar with because I'm not, super versed in that time period. But no, I mean it doesn't necessarily have to be Bucky, and I highly doubt it's Bucky if it's a guy walking around,
right,
like a soldier's uniform.
Yeah, I I'm just really intrigued by this concept, especially knowing what we know about Amy Hennig games. And,
Plus,
part of me was like,
I don't know. Am I okay? Am I wrong here, or does the soldier character? The soldier character appears to be African American, right?
hold on, I
I
can't
think,
really.
I mean, from my perspective, yeah.
Which
Yeah, it does.
Like,
Maybe
I'm
that
wondering if
ties
that's
in-
actually just Sergeant Fury.
maybe. I mean, I mean, I assume that might. I don't know. Maybe that ties into the whole Wakanda and Black Panther kind of thing too.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, and then the background key art is obviously Paris and Wakanda.
What's your first initial reaction to this, just as a concept, Crispy?
I'm super into the idea of old time Captain America.
Yeah.
I really like, just as a rule in general, I really like superheroes from that time period where like superheroes weren't quite a thing yet and they were still more like masked mystery men, adventurer kind of characters.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where Captain America came from, even though I mean he was created specifically to be propaganda for the war effort. But that's kind of how he operated, you know?
Yeah.
It like early comics, it's like him, you know, it's like his movie, you know, like he's in Europe fighting Nazis, punching bad guys, and like his villains were like Nazi mad scientists and stuff, you know? So
Yeah.
I'm really into that whole shtick, the whole
Yeah.
early 20th century pastiche for the whole thing. So
I
that
completely agree.
alone has me excited.
Yeah. And then to
Also,
blend it with Black Panther and Wakanda, which so far we haven't had a ton of in video games. I mean,
we haven't.
Black Panther's.
And I also don't think there is much in the like Marvel canon about what Wakanda would have been like during that time, or like you
Right.
know what that period's Black Panther would have been up to. Again, I could be wrong. Someone probably knows more than I do, but I don't remember anything about that. So that's interesting. That's like a
could
new
even
space.
be, but it could also be a story that spans different time periods that connects. So who knows? But either way, I think this is a really cool idea. My brain immediately went out because the trailer had this very like it was
But-
very focused on like World War II era, and my first response was like, "Oh my god, this give me the Saboteur vibes with Captain
Yeah.
America," and I'm
Well, I
into
mean
it.
that's just because you know
Yeah,
occupied France,
obvious reasons.
and you're a broken human being who can only think that way.
Yes,
You can only filter things through video games that you like.
yes, correct.
But right, Nick, isn't that a fucking cool idea? Like that setting with Captain America is perfect. Like is amazing. Can't wait.
Don't cancel
Can't
it.
wait. Can't
Don't
wait to punch
cancel
some
it.
Nazis, right?
Yo, hell yeah!
And then
Okay.
and Black Panther's fucking sick. Like I mean that he is very much a part of that same sort of uh tradition, I would say. Like I was talking about with Captain America. Like he's very much more like he's some dude wearing a mask who's going out there and like actually punching people, you know? He's got like it's like the Phantom or something like that, right?
Right.
So I like yeah, I'm excited about this. I think it's interesting. It certainly piques my interest more than a lot of Marvel game projects do.
For sure.
So yeah,
Also,
can't wait.
both these characters
And Amy Hennig, so
could
yeah.
be, yeah, and both these characters seem like they're just ripe to be like really fun characters to control in a
Sure.
third person action game.
Sure,
So
yeah.
especially with good production value, ooh, it's gonna be cool. All right, Chris Davis. In the interest of time, can you rattle off what's in the state of play fairly quickly?
Yeah, sure. Let me cut back here. Okay, so there was quite a bit that was shown, but I'll go through it. They opened with Tekken 8.
Yeah.
That was
Brad's
that
not
was
here to talk about that, but I'm sure he has thoughts.
yeah. There was an interview with Arata that came out, I think today. Evidently, this is going to be a UE5 game, so
Yeah,
that'll be
I
kind of
saw that.
interesting. Yeah, but also he's really a big proponent this time around. Evidently, he's going to be more open to guest characters. So maybe the dream of adding Cosma might be finally happening. So who knows?
We shall see.
There was a trailer of the PSVR 2 version of Star Wars Tales from Galaxy's Edge, which in my opinion didn't look that good.
I feel like a lot of VR games don't look great, especially when you're
My-
when you're trying to show the actual like VR environment.
Yeah.
You know what I
VR
mean?
never is good on a flat screen.
My impression
no.
of that
It's
was
one of those things where if anyone's listening to this and they've never played VR and they're like whatever, everyone is like that until they play a good VR game. Because when you play a good VR game, holy shit! The
It
first
changes
time
you.
you watch
Yeah.
someone play Super Hot VR and you're like, yeah, it looks okay, I guess, and then you play Super Hot VR and you're like, holy fuck, this is amazing.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
But I do think, from what I understand, the scope of that game is pretty limited. It's kind of just
Yeah.
like one of
Most
those
VR games are.
I don't think
little
that
like
one's going to be a flagship title
45-minute
for VR.
experiences. Yeah.
Yeah.
So following that, they showed another PSVR 2 game, Demio. Chris might be interested in this. This is a tabletop RPG dungeon crawler thing with cards.
That
Evidently
sounds
moving.
very, very
Yeah.
It's a
crispy.
lot of words.
That's a lot of words, but
I don't trust
kinda-
it.
A lot of crispy words.
I don't like all those words. I don't trust it.
Yeah, I'd say go watch.
What's it called?
Demio, Demeo.
Okay.
Yeah, and you should go look at it. It actually looks kind of good. The next one they showed off was the remake of Yakuza Inshin, Like a Dragon Inshin now. This was
don't get me-
what this was the
Is this
first
that-
of 3 Yakuza games that was announced.
Yeah, this is the feudal Japan Yakuza game, right?
Yes.
That never came to the States. That's finally coming but is being renamed into Like a Dragon, which apparently is the new name of Yakuza.
Yes, Like a Dragon, which is the more literal translation of the series. Yakuza was actually the westernization name that was chosen
Oh.
by Sega. So
Oh, so they did a Trixie like with Resident Evil Biohazard.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like if
Name
after
a
like 20
game. Yeah.
It's like if after 20 years Capcom decided, okay, we're gonna call the next game Biohazard 9 instead of calling it Resident Evil.
Well, and then the transition was having one that was called Resident Evil Biohazard.
Which was Resident Evil 7 was called Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Everyone always
But then in
forgets about the
Japan it was
Biohazard
called
parts of it.
Biohazard 7 Resident Evil, right?
Oh my god, this is all so confusing.
It is. It really is. This new spinoff is coming out in February, which is just adding to my dread for that month. A couple of things about Yakuza or Like a Dragon now. The 2 other games that were announced outside of the Direct, Like a Dragon 8 is coming out, and it's going to star both. I'm blanking on his name now. Damn it. Kiryu and the Star of 7.
Ichiban?
Ichiban.
Ichiban.
Kiryu and Ichiban are going to be co-protagonists of 8. And then Kiryu is also getting his own spin-off game, which bridges the gap between 6 and 7. And is also going to have a direct tie into 8. So
All right,
they
I'm lost,
can't
but
they just cannot
cool.
give Kazuma his send off. He's got to be in everything now. Yeah.
All right.
One more thing about Like a Dragon is that the developers have started to realize the limitations of their Dragon engine, which they've been using for these games, and they are currently actively exploring transitioning to UE5.
Apparently,
The current one's kind of been dragging.
It's been dragging on.
We're entering the next Unreal Engine renaissance. Remember, it was where every game used to be Unreal Engine 3 forever and ever and ever, and now we're gonna do the same thing with 5. That's cool. The Unreal Engine 5 looks pretty sick.
Yeah.
All right, sick.
So after those, we got a new trailer for Hogwarts Legacy. It's for a exclusive
It's the
quest that's
DLC.
on PS5 only, from what I understand.
Right.
So yeah, we got more of that. I think we've seen enough of this game by now. Like,
Yes, we've seen a lot. Sorry,
Let's move on.
Certainly has wizards, doesn't it?
it
Yep.
certainly has wizards.
It's got wizards and darkness, and that's what people
Wizards
evidently want out of
confirmed.
Harry Potter. So okay,
I mean,
that's
What
what
else
they
is there?
think. After that, we got a trailer for a new game called Pacific Drive. It is a post-apocalyptic first-person kind of driving survival game.
But it's also a point-and-click adventure. I looked into that. I wasn't sure, which is fine. I'm just saying I didn't exactly realize that when I was watching the trailer, and then I looked at the PlayStation blog, and yeah, it's like it's what is it called again?
Pacific Drive.
Dude,
Pacific Drive.
that looked
Yeah.
Cool.
It does.
Yeah.
That
It's
looked really
also
neat.
a roguelite, by the way.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I thinking of the right game?
It's the one with the station wagon.
Yeah, you're driving
It's
through the
like
woods
all
and station
tricked
wagon.
out,
Oh,
and it's
okay,
like
you're right.
green slime on the
You're
road.
right. You're right. Sorry, that is totally different. That is like this is
I
a
was
game
gonna
where you're
say.
like dry. Yeah. So sorry. I'm thinking of. I think it's called like Norco or I'm confused. Don't listen to me. The Pacific Drive, yeah, is a roguelite where you're driving a station wagon through like all kinds of crazy weather effects and stuff. I don't know, but it does look cool.
Yeah.
Intense.
After that, they decide to show off Sony's new loyalty program, PlayStation
Oh.
Stars.
Pass.
Oh,
Next.
NFTs.
Yeah,
Oh my
they basically
God.
said that you can earn NFTs while you play stuff.
So
Next.
bullshit.
Yeah. After that, they showed a trailer for a Bandai Namco game called Sin Duality. It is a mech game, a third-person action mech game. Yeah.
Yep.
So
That's a
yeah,
thing.
that is
That's
the
cool.
way I would describe it. After that, we got a new trailer for Project Eve, which has now been renamed to Stellar Blade.
Okay.
Um,
Real quick.
that is a
I'm
very
really excited
thick
for-
game.
It's a very thick game with 2 C's. Looks great. I'm getting serious Heavenly Sword vibes from this game. I know it's not Ninja Theory, but it feels very much kind of like that, like super flashy third-person character action game type thing that's meant to kind of show off the tech, which is very much what the Heavenly Sword was for the PS3. I don't know how accurate that assessment is, but that's just kind of the vibe I'm getting from it. But that's cool because it looks kind of awesome.
Yeah, this is one of those scenarios where it's a new studio wanting to show off their chops. It's a Korean studio
their
named Shift
chats.
Up. Yeah, this is one of those kind of like, this is what we can do, what we're capable of. It's probably going to be a little shallow as far as mechanics go, but it's definitely got that visual appeal to it.
It definitely has it's a PS5 exclusive, and it looks like it's harnessing the PS5. You know, I think we're all kind of waiting for that era of the PS5 to kind of like really settle in, where like all the new games that are coming out for it start to feel like PS5 exclusives. Like they're not also, you know, a lot of stuff being developed right now is also being co-developed for PS4. This is one of those games that feels like this is being built from the ground up for the PlayStation 5, and I think we're all kind of waiting for that. So, in that sense, pretty excited for this.
Yeah. 2 more
Dumb
games.
name though.
So after that, we got a trailer for a new game called Rise of the Ronin. This is from Team Ninja. This is a project that has evidently been in development for about 7 years. It is
This is an open world Ronin feudal Japan, right?
Yeah, 19th century Japan, roaming the world as Westerners come in and influence the world.
Yeah, so it almost looks like Neo without the like supernatural layer on top. Although I could be wrong, that could come into play at some point. But like, it definitely looks kind of like grounded Neo.
Yeah, well, it looks more character action than Neo's kind of Soulsian gameplay.
It showed him jump off of a roof and then like open like a paraglider that looked like bird wings or
Yeah.
I don't know.
Look fucking
It was cool. I'm right. I'm
Yeah.
into it. New IP
Yeah.
from.
It's unfortunate
Although I
that
don't know where Team Ninja is finding the time to make all these crazy looking games.
Well, like I said, this game has been in development for 7 years. Like this was
Are you watching it,
predates
Chris?
Strangers of Paradise.
Yeah, I'm watching the trailer.
Yeah, it's crazy. It looks pretty cool. It looks pretty cool.
Is this like specifically about like? Oh yeah, okay, yeah. It's about the U.S. forcing open Japan's ports.
Yep.
The U.S. and I think probably more the Dutch than anything else. But yeah,
Well, the Dutch were freely trading in Japan for a couple hundred years before that.
yeah, they
The
arrived in
U.S. are the ones who
17th
showed up in the 1800s and were like,
open the country.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it looks cool. That is the first Team Ninja game in a long time I've been really interested in. This looks really good.
It looks pretty cool. That's coming in 2024 though, so a little ways
Yeah,
off.
it's going to be a while. So, and they ended the direct with a new trailer for God of War Ragnarok,
which looks incredible. We don't need to talk about God of War Ragnarok. We already know it's going to be great.
Are you going to
you
buy the
don't want to talk
controller,
about
Nick?
specifically.
Am I going to No, I'm not going to buy the controller, but it is a pretty looking controller.
Are you not, Nicholas?
What? What?
You're not gonna you're gonna pass up on that beautiful special edition DualSense controller?
Are you trying to like subtly influence me to buy this controller for no other reason than to see if you can?
Maybe.
Because that's what it feels like. You know what? We're gonna stop talking about this right now because
just to prove you wrong, I'm gonna buy
it. All right, God of War Ragnarok looks stellar, man.
Can I just say it was really nice to hear Richard Schiff as Odin in there. That was really cool.
There's so many good West Wing jokes coming out about Richard Schiff, like talking about how Odin sounds like he's about to like
go lobby Congress for to pass a bill or something.
It's pretty good. Good. All right. So one more thing I want to focus on in the news real quick. I say real quick. I really wanted to talk about this, but we are running a little low on time tonight. So I do apologize if we end up having to save some of these community questions this week for next week's show because we have a lot to cover tonight. So I do apologize if that ends up happening. But I wanted to make sure we had time to talk about the Assassin's Creed thing. Ubisoft had their event. It was not an entirely an Assassin's Creed thing, but they ended up spending a huge portion of that time talking about the future of Assassin's Creed. Chris Davis is already shaking his head. I know I'm going to be kind of like the lone. I don't know how to describe my stance here. I'm a longtime Assassin's Creed fan, except I have also kind of started to like peter off of it. I didn't even finish Valhalla, which is pretty uncommon. I mean, I spent over 100 hours playing Odyssey, and I couldn't even bring myself to finish Valhalla.
I don't think a whole lot of people finished Valhalla to begin with.
I mean, it's. I've said this before. I've said it in Discord. I'll say it again. I think the biggest problem that Ubisoft has that they should be focusing on addressing, which we don't even know if they've effectively started, because they spent the last 3 years, right? Valhalla came out about 3 or 4 years ago. I don't remember how long it's been now.
No,
but
it was like 2 years ago, I think.
Was it?
Was it 2020 or 2019?
Somebody in chat find out. They've taken some time off, right? They've been focusing on figuring out the future of the series, and here
you go. From how long to beat, the total aggregate of players polled for Assassin's Creed Origins was 4.2 thousand. For Odyssey was 4.1 thousand.
These are the average number of polls.
No, this is the number of people who have essentially said, "Hey, I finished the game. This is how long it took me."
Gotcha.
So 4.2 thousand, 4.1 thousand for Odyssey. For Origins, 1.8 thousand. Sorry, thank you, Valhalla. 1.8 thousand for Valhalla. Half.
Yeah. And I think that right there is a perfect way of looking at just kind of like the effect they're having on their own series by making everything.
That being said,
annual.
Let's revisit that real quick. Main story for Origins, average 30 hours. Odyssey, 44 and a half hours. Valhalla, 60 hours.
Yeah. Valhalla is an enormous
just
game.
The main story.
And let me just say,
no wonder nobody finished it.
Right?
Let me just say, and I've said this before, we're still kind of waiting to see what all of this means that we're about to talk about in a second, because they pitched this event as very much talking about the future of Assassin's Creed, right? They've taken a little bit of time and they've given some thought to the series, and we don't know what any of this really means yet. We did not get an answer to that question really from this event.
Also, real quick, Valhalla was a current gen launch title.
Right. But the thing that I've been saying that I feel about Assassin's Creed is their biggest problem is that they have no problem adding new features and coming up with new ideas and introducing some legitimately cool things but they can't bring themselves to subtract while also adding. So the games keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which becomes a problem, especially when you're releasing games back to back to back. So I'm hoping that these games that they announced at this event are taking some of that feedback to heart and are maybe going to address that. So the event, they started by unveiling Mirage, Assassin's Creed Mirage, which we talked about a little bit on the last episode. It leaked. All of the leaks were accurate. It takes place in Baghdad. It's a little bit smaller in scope. It's focused on assassination. It's not an RPG, and it's kind of going back to the roots. And it's supposed to feel very kind of similar to the original Assassin's Creed, which Chris Davis mentioned is the other rumor that was not talked about was that they're going to use this as kind of a foundation jumping off point for remaking the original at some point. I don't know if that's true or not, but that seems to be the rumor. So that game, a little bit smaller, a little bit more grounded, more focus on stealthy assassination stuff. Sounds pretty cool. In my opinion, I'm all for it. But then they announced three other projects, which are part of Assassin's Creed Infinity, which is their new platform, which as they've described it, we didn't really get a whole lot of answers here either, but as they've described it, it's just kind of it's think of it as like you log into Assassin's Creed Infinity, it's like walking around the Animus, and then you actually are going to access the games from inside Infinity. Which honestly,
Did they
as
say
kind
that,
of like,
or are you saying that?
I think they said something along those lines. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm just making shit up. But I feel like I saw they talked about that in this interview. Somebody fact check me. I don't know. But they keep talking about it as a platform that you use to access the individual games. Whatever form that takes, we still don't know for sure.
It's
But
a
they announced
unifying service in which these games are going to be modules that you purchase, and Infinity is going to be the unifying kind of like collective storyline that unites everything.
It's like what Sonji's saying. It's Halo Infinite, right?
Mm,
That's like what they were doing with Halo Infinite.
But Halo Infinite is like that would be like if Assassin's Creed Mirage was the starting point, and then you just over the years they just keep adding more and more to it. But it's not quite like that because these games are so different.
I haven't
which
released
which
anything.
right, so it's still kind of all up in the air. But they announced 3 projects that go with it. They all have code names right now. It's Jade, Red, and Hexy. Jade being a ancient China Assassin's Creed game that is a mobile game.
yes.
So I was a little like, okay, I kind of don't care about that one.
Real quick about the Jade project. Evidently, that game is already under fire because the creative director evidently has claims of sexual harassment against him.
I think you're actually thinking of the creative director of the Project Red.
I think it's all of them.
We don't know which Assassin's Creed
Yeah.
game
You know what,
creative
you're right.
is accused of being a sexual pervert.
It's Red. It's not Jade. I apologize.
Yeah, it's Red. Which is unfortunate because
The
Red
guy who's doing Jade's actually a pretty cool guy, Chris Davis. Okay, you can't just say things like that.
I just want to make sure. I mean,
At this point, if you are the game dev, if you are the lead dev on an Assassin's Creed game, there's like a 30% chance you're a pervert.
I mean, you're not wrong. The same thing happened to the creative lead on which one was it?
I think we should keep an eye on everybody who's making Assassin's Creed games.
You know, you're probably right.
It's a red flag. TBH.
Yeah. Speaking of Red, Assassin's Creed Project Red is the feudal Japan Assassin's Creed that everybody's been pining for ages.
Yeah, it's like, does anybody care anymore? Like,
I mean,
you should have been out with this 8 years ago.
I mean, I totally get your point, Crispy, but I'm also here to say yes, some people really do.
I think Ghost of Tsushima and Neo kind of revitalized that hope and dream.
But also, Ghost of Tsushima almost
settled
negates
it.
the need
I thought people were like, "Oh, cool, we got it." Like,
well, here's the thing. We haven't seen this game in motion yet, so it could play totally different than something like Ghost of Tsushima. You are a ninja, it looks like in this Project Red. You know, So I don't know. We've really only seen just a very brief cinematic of it that teases what it is. But they've also confirmed here that Assassin's Creed is officially kind of split into two different genres. We have the RPGs, which play more like Origins and Odyssey and Valhalla, which Project Red, the Japan one, is going to be more like. And then they announced the one that I'm actually way more interested in, which is Project Hexy. And this looks we know almost nothing about it other than it seems to take place around the witch trials, but I don't think it's the Salem witch trials. I think it's another famous witch trials in history. I think I read that somewhere. I don't know.
Hexy is Germanic, I think.
Yeah, it's witch trials, and I believe in Germany.
Okay, so witch trials in Germany, but
Which ones?
Hexy.
They were
Holy Roman Empire witches.
yeah, the
Zelda
Holy
chat?
Roman
I don't know.
Empire in
The German witch trials. Come
yeah,
on.
there were a lot of witch hunts during
American
the 16th
schools.
I just
But
want to
which
point
ones
out
is
that,
this about?
oh god damn it, shut up Nolan. I just want to point out this project seems really really cool because the trailer obviously is a teaser, but it looks a lot like maybe this is going to be experimenting genre wise. Like maybe this could be kind of a horror game, like an Assassin's Creed horror game. Like really trying to, like, if they're really going to try and lean into experimentation, Hexy I think has the best chance of being something really fresh and new for the series.
It did give off Blair Witch vibes.
Yeah, it did feel a little Blair Witchy. It looks darker in tone. I don't know.
It's fun to
games
dream, isn't it?
It is fun to dream, and I like to dream. I have hopes and dreams, even for Assassin's Creed. You know, say what you will about Assassin's Creed. It's obviously comes with a lot of baggage, and I go back and forth at this point, being a fan and being annoyed by this franchise. But this event did a pretty good job, I think, of lifting my spirits in terms of like actually having something to look forward to. So I don't know. I'm genuinely interested to see if they're going to not only deliver on kind of revitalizing interest in the franchise after so long, but also if they're going to actually manage to set these new games apart. Like if they're going to actually make worthwhile changes.
It is weird that they're like, now you're saying they're characterizing these as like two different types of games.
Hexy is apparently not going to be an RPG.
That is weird because I feel like most of what is different between old Assassin's Creed and new Assassin's Creed is very like linear. You know what I mean? It's like you're not really making two different kinds of games because the gameplay is still largely the same. You've just changed presentational aspects of it.
I don't know. I feel like Origins and Odyssey play completely different.
What I'm saying is like the minute to minute is still you running around an open world. It's still you climbing.
I mean, it's still part of the same series.
Like I know. So like saying that that these are two completely different types of games seems weird because it seems like you're going to have to cannibalize stuff from one for the other.
I think there is a lot of
you're going to have to tone down anything in order to make them different. Your RPG game is going to be the one that's open world and the other game is not going to even have that. The first Assassin's Creed game was an open world game. You know what I mean?
No. I think there's a lot of contention about. I mean, there's a lot of debate as to what people either tend to prefer one over the other, RPG versus the non-RPG, and the differences seem to be, or like the most potential for the differences seem to be, the RPGs lean very heavily on leveling up a character and improving your damage and swapping out armor and shit, and like so you don't feel like you're assassinating people. You feel like you're getting stronger, and then you're getting stronger in combat and doing more damage, which feels tends to feel a lot less like Hitman. You know what I mean? And the other games tend to feel more like being stealthy and focusing on assassinating key specific targets as opposed to just mowing dudes down.
But this doesn't feel like. It doesn't feel like what Yakuza did, It doesn't feel like going from an action brawler game to a turn-based RPG. It doesn't even feel like that drastic.
because the turn-based thing is what makes that such a dramatic change. This went from
Well,
an action
it
game
also
to an
had
action
like a
RPG.
job class. It had the whole weapon loot system kind of thing. Like
Right.
it had like an RPG system that didn't exist before. This feels more like we can't decide what the core gameplay of Assassin's Creed should be, so we're just gonna do both, which is weird. Like that is such a weird call.
But it
is one of those like let's have our cake and eat it too kind of thing that is always been wrong with this series. Like like it's this like designed by committee decision of like, well, we don't know what Assassin's Creed is or should be, so let's just do a bunch of stuff and call it Assassin's Creed. Like,
well, here's the only thing I would say to that, because I think you're right, but at the same time, their approach in the past has been, instead of creating two separate styles of games, they're like, let's just have our cake and eat it too by just throwing everything under the same banner. Like everything that we create exists in every game, as opposed to identifying which features or mechanics work better with one style of play and the other, and then splitting those out. I think I'm hoping that ultimately this ends up being a positive shift for the series and gives people a choice. Like, because before you just didn't have a choice. Like, people who were fans of Assassin's Creed had to suddenly be, if they wanted to continue being Assassin's Creed fans, they kind of had to just be on board with the RPG aspect of it.
But remember, I don't know. Am I the only one who felt like when we got like a series of games in Assassin's Creed, when it was like, hey, these 3 Ezio games are all like pretty similar to each other. Like they don't really change that much. Maybe they add a system or a mini game in that like we're not crazy about, so we just ignore it. But like you knew what that game was, and when a sequel to that game came out, you were like, okay, cool. I'm expecting this and then a little more, right? And then Assassin's Creed got into this thing where like every iteration they were doing something new each one, and then you'd find one and you'd be like, that was cool, maybe just do another one of those. And then they didn't really do that, and that's kind of frustrating. They just try to reinvent it every single game, and now they're going to do that in like multiple branching pathways, like at the same time. Like that seems like you're going the wrong direction. I don't know. It seems weird. It just seems weird.
It is definitely weird. And the fact that it's weird is kind of why I'm interested. I could see it, like, something has to be done to kind of like change the trajectory of the series in terms of its popularity.
It feels like you don't have any faith in your IP. I don't know. I don't even know how to really explain that. But it feels like you don't know what the game is. You don't know what the game should be. You don't know what a game that people would be excited to play is.
Well, I mean, yeah, I will say this. They did just make 3 games that are very similar.
Sure. Yeah.
And those games...
And that's why it's weird that they're not just sticking with that, right? I don't know. No, I don't know.
It's weird.
They're not sticking with that.
I guess it's not even that they're changing. It's just that they're like not picking a direction. They're changing in every direction at the same time.
Yeah, Krispy, they're trying to pick every direction, and that's been the failing of Assassin's Creed for the past 3 games.
My hope,
they're trying to do too much.
My hope is that while moving in 2 different directions, they also pare down and like make those 2 directions more focused.
All I'm saying is, isn't it gonna suck when Assassin's Creed Hexe or whatever it is comes out, and we're like, dude, this is fucking sick. I just wish it had the gameplay from the other Assassin's Creed that had the story I didn't like, Like, I don't know. Like, you're going to have 2 different Assassin's Creed stories, and you're going to be like, there's a good game between these 2. But I don't know.
You're right.
Like,
they're trying to be a jackdaw of all trades.
Oh, fuck.
They're a master assassin of none.
Okay, let me just say,
I hate you, Nolan.
We'll have to wait and see. I hate you too, Nolan. All right, let's.
One more real quick thing about Assassin's Creed 4. Move on. They also confirmed that they are looking into creating and reintroducing new multiplayer experiences into the series.
Oh yeah,
shut the fuck up.
They did say that. Did Nolan just walk off? Just like peace.
I mean, that's big for me. That could bring me back.
Yeah.
If it's good. But also, they're a bunch of fucking cowards who can't decide what to do, so they... Yeah. God
Okay,
fucking
Crispy.
damn it.
Crispy.
I hate that Ubisoft made something that I really liked, had me on the hook with it for a really long time, and then just fucked it. Like,
That's how I
just
feel about Star
fucked
Wars,
it.
to be totally honest.
I mean,
You know what I mean? Like, it happens to everybody.
Well, the servers for those games are still up through the end of the month. So if y'all want to do a community night,
what are we even doing here?
we're not-
Okay, guys,
no.
for those listening at home, I do want to say we did get some questions for the podcast tonight, but we have unfortunately run out of time. We do have to end the show, so we're going to wrap up the 4-player minute, and I'm going to specifically promise you that we will answer all the questions from this week's thread in next week's show. So thank you to everybody who submitted questions. Really appreciate it. We'll spend a little bit more time. We'll spend less time on news next week because obviously there won't be as much, and we'll have more time for questions. But for now, it is time to wrap up at the 4-player minute. So, you know how it goes. Final thought, hype, sweat, thank you, fuck you, any combination thereof, however you want to do it. I'm going to let Chris Davis go first tonight.
my final thought is a split fuck you between two different companies. The first fuck you, as I mentioned earlier, fuck you to Nintendo for the way you're treating GoldenEye and the way you're treating it for your fans. Like, it's bad enough that you just develop games and you put them on a shelf, they're ready to go, and you just wait until you feel like releasing them. That's bad enough.
That's the existence of the Metal Gear, or not the Metroid Prime trilogy. We know
like
it's
the
out
Metroid
there.
Prime trilogy, Advance Wars 1 and 2.
Well,
like,
that's for a very specific reason. The Advance Wars
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
We
no,
all know
that's understandable.
That's an appropriate choice.
Sidebar to that content, so they're gonna delay releasing Advance Wars, which is a game about fighting pseudo Russian-like enemies, for releasing a Nintendo 64 game that was about shooting a bunch of Russian enemies.
That's a good point.
Little bit, yeah, not right there. Yeah, but also like for the fact that they're doing the community dirty by not allowing Microsoft to release that 100% done and just needs to push a button to release a remaster of GoldenEye. Like, I've seen footage of it. It's playable. You can get there are leaks out there where you can download it and play it yourself. And supposedly it's really fucking good. But like because they technically own GoldenEye, they're doing this to people, and it's just kind of wrong. No, it's not even kind of wrong, it is wrong. And my other fuck you goes to Ubisoft. After their whole presentation, I didn't think was particularly good. And I didn't like the fact that they spent nearly half of it about Assassin's Creed. But one of the things about them, beyond just like my whole just problem with that franchise, where they completely just abandoned the direction they were going with the narrative, the meta narrative with the future stuff. They've relegated the meta narrative content to maybe being in the infinity part of this whole games as a service thing, which fuck you for that. But also they came out and said that their 3 pillars for their company going forward are Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six. And I'm like, those are 3 franchises that I used to love that you've completely turned away from me. Like, Far Cry, I won't even go into that conversation again, but I've grown. I've grown to not like them at all.
It's a far better game than 5, right?
I mean, mechanically speaking, sure, but it's still going to have that same cynical as fuck storyline that I can't deal with anymore. And then Rainbow Six has become a games as a service thing that has nothing to do with its original concept and games. And then Assassin's Creed has just, again, it's moved away from the storylines and the stuff that really interested me to where I don't want to play those games anymore. Like, maybe I want to play Hexy, but like that's the only Hexy and Red.
I mean,
maybe
I would say they just announced 2 games, 3 technically, that we know next to nothing about. So you're right, but also as those come into focus, it may be something that you're actually interested in. Who the fuck knows?
I'll have to see what they are, but for what I want out of them, I'm not expecting to get what I feel like there should be in there. So
Okay.
anyway, fuck you to Ubisoft, fuck you to Nintendo, fuck them both.
All right. Nolan,
What up?
how about you go next?
My 4-player hour starts now. I'm pretty hyped because I got a Steam Deck.
Oh shit!
Nice.
It
But I finally
arrived.
got it. Yep, I got it right here. I've been playing a lot of Binding of Isaac on it. Really
Of
enjoy
course.
it. It sucks because I just took a trip like a couple of weeks ago, and it would have been nice to have had it on that, but I did not. But now, for all my future trips, I will definitely have it with me. So I'm excited about that. My second hype, kind of, is I've gotten more into Pokemon Go a lot lately, which it sucks that it came out when it did, because it came out in not a great state and I dropped it. And apparently it's improved a whole lot. And so I've been playing it quite a bit the past few months. And I've been really enjoying it. I've been having a real lot of fun, which kind of leads into like a fuck you to myself for having left it for so long, because there's so much shit that I missed in the past however many years of not playing it. To Gamerbeck's question, does Pokemon Go have battles now? Yes, it 100% does. You will interact with Team Rocket and battle them. You will interact with other trainers and you can battle them. You can battle your friends. It's what's called a Pokemon Go Battle League that goes on. There's actually a whole lot more. And yeah, to Drunken Merchant's point, it does encourage you to walk, because you have to walk around to like catch the Pokemon. If you just stand still, they don't really spawn. And to Zlade's question, are people still playing Pokemon Go? Dude, there are a shit ton of people playing Pokemon Go, and I can prove that to you. So one of the problems was, and that kind of leads into a thank you, I kind of stepped away for so long. And so I have kind of shitty Pokemon. And they introduced raids is something they introduced. And so that's when they put kind of, not necessarily always, they're not always legendary or ultra beast. Sometimes they're just like a certain Pokemon in a gym for a certain amount of time, and it's a stronger version, and you have to fight it. Well, I can probably only solo a 1-star and probably a 3-star raid. 4 and 5-star, I get my ass handed to me like without a shadow of a doubt. I don't have any friends. I don't know anybody who lives near me that plays this game, so it's really hard to take down those raids. Well, there's an app called Poke Genie that tries to solve that, and essentially it says, "Hey, if you're looking for someone to help you do a raid, we'll sync them up with you." And so, to your question, does anybody still play? The queue currently for one of these raids, and granted, the reason is because it's only available in the Southern Hemisphere right now. The queue of people waiting to find someone to help them raid is 178,000 people
Holy
for
shit!
this one Pokemon raid.
Wow.
There are a lot of people playing it, and this app has been. If anybody out there is I don't know if that's an L or an I, Aoric or Leoric, whichever one. Pokegenie's OP. Yes, it very much is. It's been super helpful. I've been able to now take down some of the 5-star raids because I advertise, hey, there's a raid that's near me. I'm going to start it. Does anybody else want to help? A bunch of like 5 other people join in, and you can actually take it down now. So it's actually been super helpful, and I'm actually now enjoying the game even more than I was a few weeks ago before I found out about this app. So I'm having a shit ton of fun playing it. They introduced something a couple of weeks ago, the Daily Incense. It kind of makes more unique Pokemon spawn than you would normally see, and that's been a lot of fun. To Glager's point about Pokegenie sounding illegal, there's technically nothing like wrong about it. It's introducing you to people, you add them as in your friends list, and they help you do a raid. It's been super helpful for anybody who doesn't have friends or lives in a rural area. I live in a rural area. When I go into cities and I see gyms and Pokestops everywhere, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I don't have that near me. I don't.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where someone like me who lives not near a stop or a gym, it sucks. It's fucking horrible. I look online and I see people who are like, oh, I'm in my bedroom, and they pull up their game and there's like 15 things right around them. I don't have that. There's nothing I can do I can't make more stops. And so that app has been super helpful. my final point, and I know this is the longest 4-player minute I think I've ever had, is I'm going to give another thank you to Bernadette, who has been very nice to me, like doing my Pokemon Go stuff. I'll often sometimes during the day be like, hey, there's like this raid going on, I'm just gonna go do it. And she's like, okay. And it's been very nice and letting me do that kind of stuff and not give me too much shit about it. But yeah, so I've been really into that lately, and I'm really excited about some of the stuff coming up. But yeah.
Sweet. Pokemon Go, man. Who'd have thunk
Mhm.
it? All right, Crispy.
Okay. Remember how when we started the show, I mentioned $70
Yes,
when we were talking about Last of Us?
I do recall.
Okay. So, me and some friends have been getting back into Apex Legends,
Uh-huh.
which is a immensely frustrating experience. Especially since some of my friends have like much higher ranked like matchmaking ratings than I do. So we
Mhm.
get put in some really sweaty lobbies. It sucks. But we've been playing a lot and we've been getting better. And I was like, fuck it. Like, I'll get the fucking battle pass or whatever, you know? And I went into pay for the coins that you have to buy to get the battle pass. And the transaction didn't update immediately, and I was confused about what was going on, and I accidentally made the purchase twice.
Mhm.
I got
How much?
fucking burned.
How much? So you saying you spent $70? It was what, $35 each?
Yeah, it was about $70.
Man.
It was
Oh,
about $70.
damn,
It
Crispy.
fucking sucks. This is my supervillain origin story. Now I think microtransactions are the worst thing in video gaming. I hate it. I got burned. I want to
Can't you-
kill somebody. I'm gonna kill EA.
Can't you just request a refund?
I don't know. I spent the coins.
I don't know. I didn't even think of that.
I spent
He's
the
like,
coins,
I'm
so
too
I
busy
definitely,
becoming a supervillain.
I definitely can't get a refund now because I used the coin. I was like, fine, I'll just buy a bunch of Apex packs then.
You're gonna go ask for a refund and then be like, I don't know. I don't think we can do it. You did threaten to kill us on your podcast.
Yeah, I got some cool skins. That's nice.
Uh,
But the point is, I'm the idiot. Don't be like me. Microtransactions suck.
all right, good to know. Anything else you want to throw out there, or is that it?
No, I
Uh,
I hate capitalism.
there we go. Fair enough. That's always a fair assessment. All right, my 4-player minute starts now. I got a couple things. My first fuck you of the week. I expressed this in Discord, and now that Brad's not here, I feel like I can safely say this. Um,
Here we go.
I noticed the hypocrisy a little bit this week when I woke up the other day. Tokyo Game Show is happening right now, and I woke up, I think it was yesterday morning, to a bombardment of Yakuza game announcements. Like, a lot. I don't even honestly know how many were announced, but a lot. And there was a lot of excitement about it, and a lot of talk about it, a lot of hype about it. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I never want to hear someone bitch about too many Assassin's Creed games ever again until they also start making the same complaints about Yakuza. I am happy for Yakuza fans. I personally don't have a lot of attachment to Yakuza, but you know what? I didn't sit here and go, that series is trash. Like, fuck that. Fuck them. You know what I mean? Like, which I feel like is like kind of the sentiment when the opposite happens for something like Assassin's Creed. So I just got a little bitter, a little bit of resentment there for that. I know it's not apples to apples. I know it's, there's different situations, but still, there's a lot of hypocrisy in this industry among fans, among fandoms for different things. And you know what? There is a little bit, it's a little bit of the same thing going on with Yakuza. And nobody seems to be bitching about it. So fuck all y'all. My my sweat goes to Atomic Heart, which continues to be a game that looks amazing, but also, maybe a little too good to be true. But it was announced today or last week that it was delayed to early 2023, but that came in tandem with the announcement that they were picked up officially by a big Focus Home Entertainment. They now have a big publisher. It's now no longer going to be self-published, which I think was the original plan. So I'm pretty sure that delay kind of just goes hand in hand with what all the business stuff that goes on behind the scenes with that acquisition. So I continue to be very, very excited and also very, very nervous about what that game actually is. God, I hope it delivers, because holy shit, every time I see that game, I'm just like, oh, please be real. And my hype, I'm going on a trip in, about 2 weeks now, and I'm excited to finally go on a trip with my Steam Deck in hand.
And
So
your
I've been
wife?
trying to... Yes, and my wife. Thank you, Crispy. I'm very excited to go on an adult vacation with my wife and take my Steam Deck with me. How's that?
Is she gonna play with your deck too, Nick?
Maybe.
Are you gonna, while you're traveling, are you gonna whip out your deck on the plane?
Wait,
Yes,
wait,
I'm gonna whip
Wait.
out my deck on the plane. I can't wait.
Where are you guys going?
We're going to Portland for 9 days, and then we are going to fly down to Anaheim and go to Disneyland and Universal for
You're gonna
5
go
days.
to Avengers Campus?
We're gonna go to Avengers Campus.
Dude,
We
that's a
got
long
tickets-
ass vacation.
We got
Yeah.
tickets to we got tickets to Universal's Scare Fest thing, which apparently
Halloween
is way
Horror.
more-
Oh wait, no, they only do that in Orlando. I don't know what the
No,
Anaheim
it's
one
this,
is.
I think it's the same thing. It's and supposedly it's way more intense than I assumed. I thought it was just gonna be like, oh, Halloween decorations and like here's some cool like spooky like haunted house things
Dude.
you could do, but apparently it's like super
Halloween
intense,
Horror
holy
Nights
shit.
fucks. Like Halloween Horror Nights goes hard.
Yeah,
Like
that's what-
back in the
that's what we're
day,
going to.
it was crazy scary. Like it was
Yeah.
so cool.
That's what we're doing. So we're pretty excited for that. But yeah, I'm excited to take my Steam Deck on a trip. So I'm gonna load up my Steam Deck with just a bunch of random stuff that I want to play. I know I'm not gonna be able to play a ton or commit a large chunk of time to any one game, but I'm looking forward to digging into Chernobylite, and Moon Scars, which is a new like Metroidvania kind of like blasphemous Metroidvania type game, which looks really cool. I played a demo for that a while back. It's coming out 3 days before I leave on my trip. And maybe doing some hunts, some Monster Hunter hunts and stuff. So I'm excited to take my sweet Steam Deck with me on a trip with my wife. It's gonna be exciting. So, with that, I think we're done. I think that's it for tonight, guys. Thank you for sticking with us. I know it's been a long one, a lot of stuff to cover. Again, I do apologize for not having time to do community questions tonight. I hope you understand. We obviously had a lot of ground to cover, but again, we will address those questions on next week's podcast. If you haven't yet, please check out 4playernetwork.com. Bookmark it. It's better than it's ever been. It's streamlined. Information's been updated and relevant. It's great. Check it out. I even made a new homepage, new hub for the Revival Club. The Revival Club is playing Alpha Protocol. I forgot to mention that at the top of the show. We're playing Alpha Protocol. If you're interested in participating, you can support us you can subscribe on Twitch. You can support us on Patreon at the $3 tier or higher. You can go to 4playernetwork.com/Revival Club and find out all you need to know about the Revival Club, what we're playing, how it works, how you can join, all that stuff. I'm hoping we get through Alpha Protocol and even record that podcast before I leave on my trip. So, anyways, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in. I hope everybody has a lovely evening, night, weekend, whatever. And we'll see you next week for another show. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.